Exactly. He should be to the right of Biggs, though. He should be last.
Yeah, that's right. We beat
Wrong.
California by 1.2 trillion. Okay, all right,
there you go.
that's right.
Let's good point. Good point. Right there. That's beautiful. Right there. All right.
Wait, hold on, Brian. Hold on, wait. I always have to go first. Let's switch back. Like it was a good meme, but I always have to go first. We can put him back, and then we'll act like it didn't happen. Cool.
Okay. All right. Hello, all. This is the Reverie Roundtable. We should have Mondays 8 p.m. Eastern. We're starting with our guests in the order they've always been. I don't know why you're asking. We'll start with GSU Gambit. Gambit, thank you for coming through. Thanks for being around. Another mod in the community. How are you?
I've been good, man. I've been good. Life has been pretty hectic. I need to go mute my phone, but I've been giving a lot of interviews lately, so it's been pretty crazy making time to give out interviews and also do work. So life has been busy, but life has been great. I
What was that?
stream on my software engineering channel, GSU Gambit Codes. You can follow that. Otherwise, following us up to Prime. I'm happy to be here. It's been a minute since I've been able to be on a panel, so I'm excited.
Okay.
And we got a good panel, so yeah.
Thank you. All right. Next we have Fabian Liberty Scott. Scott back with us. So happy to have him here. It's been a very interesting addition to the community, and a positive one. So, like, not just interesting, like in negative, like in positive. So,
it's fine. It's fine. We all know that I'm a heel on PrimeCayes. You love to hate me. Sneaky Debate Man made a very interesting point, saying that both the left and the right in America deal in these absolutes, and as we all know, only a Sith deals in absolutes. So, America must be a Sith empire, and as an ANCAP, I can embrace that message. You can find me on Fabian Liberty. We both ANCAP streamers, duo stream. We do some of these debates and stuff, but mostly we try and do philosophy reading, Discord stuff, and then news reactions and stuff. Lately, I've been doing a lot more debates because everyone loves to yell at me. So I appreciate it nevertheless. It's good to get the Liberty message out there.
Thank you. All right. Also, right, Scott's Scott's partner in crime, the dynamic duo, right? VIP Counterpoints is here as well. Best friends forever, right? I have to put them next to each other, right?
I love Counter
to be apart,
The
not even
bromance
for a
is
moment.
strong.
So, Counterpoints. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So my name's Connor. I run a YouTube channel named Counterpoints. I identify as center center right. I'm a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd. I like fighting, yelling, and screaming, and all that kind of jazz, which is why you'll catch me most Mondays on the Reverie. So thanks for having me, buddy, and super happy to be here.
Okay, all right, thank you. Next, we're going to Jason Society, which you haven't had here in a little bit. Glad to see you, Jason. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. How are you?
For sure. I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me. Prime, you're the man. Actually, I was just posting about you today, how much you've helped my channel grow. So I appreciate that. I am Jason Society. You can find me at Twitch at Jason_Society or on Twitter, Jason Society. We talk about music, a lot of politics, and we like to have a lot of fun and react to funny videos and stuff too. So you can always check us out there. We're still relatively new. We're just over 3 months old. So any follows or love you want to throw our way, we're happy to have it. And we welcome all people to our community. So feel free to pop in anytime you like. Thanks.
Next, we have the Dark Lord and Savior back here again. Happy to have him. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Doobie from the Politics server, discord.gg/politics, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Have you? All right. We'll go to Wordy next, who also has been quite a while since we haven't around, but it's great to see them. Looking good, looking fresh. Wordy, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. It's good to be back in the rotation. I'm good to be back on these again because I love yelling at people. I love telling Connor he's both simultaneously smart and an idiot at the same time. And I enjoy being a libertarian socialist. I'm the only actual anarchist on this panel. And I like talking politics. I like slowly going crazy as I basically tell people that they're dumb or argue things. And I hate philosophy, but I still learn that shit. And I'm ultimately here to say how I feel and what I think we should try to do to improve people's lives more than anything.
Philosophy is for fools. We all know that. Thank you. No, let's get we get that out there. That's a message people need to learn. Biggs. Aren't you philosophy? No, I'm just kidding. Biggs. We haven't another person. Yes, like a third person we haven't had here in quite a long time. Biggs, happy to have you here. Hopefully we can have your adorable little girls invade the channel. I love when they do that. The stream. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Prime. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm Biggs. You can find me at Biggs8500 on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Come check me out. Give me a follow if you like my content. It's awesome. But yeah, thank you so much, Prime. Thank you to all the panelists. You guys are awesome. I'm looking forward to having some good conversation, and I think it's going to get a little spicy tonight. So I'm looking forward to it.
Be happy. All right, love it. And finally, we have Sneaky Debate Man. Sneaky Debate Man is here. We're pretty psyched to have him around. He is from.
I'm British. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I didn't want to say it. It's a dirty word here, right? And for good fucking reason. So look, now that you've admitted your shame, now it's out there. Do you repent? Do you repent?
Not even a little bit. I'm leaning into it. Okay, I'm tripling down, and quadrupling down.
Love to have him here. Thank you so much, buddy. All right, let's get at it. So, first topic, if I can find it. There is a new strain of COVID that is causing cases to surge, Omicron, which, like, I'm not the only one who realizes that's like almost a transformer, right? Like, it's a transformer.
Yeah, Omicron, wasn't it? It was the planet one, right?
Yeah, it was the planet one. Yeah. But, okay, I dig it. Anyway, it's killing people. Nations have been responding by closing their borders once again to travelers from affected countries. Is this sustainable? Should countries just accept that new strains will continue to arise, so they should operate normally for the sake of their economies? At what point does it not make sense to alter normal life and business for a virus that will never go away? Yeah, so this is a big thing, right? There's lots of stuff we're going to cover here, but it's not unsurprising that we have a new variant, right? And it won't be unsurprising next year when we find the Omega variant, right? Like, it's going to happen. And so, how much of this? So, is there a balance that we haven't quite found yet with these things in terms of, like, openings and closures and safety, right? Should we kind of just let it ride? Which a lot of people were saying at the very start of this all. So I'm curious what you have to say. We'll start with my man, GSU Gambit.
Got it. As always, I have to go first. I'm cool with that though. So yeah, man, this is a lot. Especially for me because I'm a person that I used to be out with friends a lot. I was a very outgoing person, and then COVID happened, and now I work from home, and I never get to leave the house. So it's been a bit. I've been a bit impatient with the amount of different versions that are going to come out, and it is going to continue to happen. But what prescriptions would I make about us closing down the economy? I don't know, and I can be pushed and pulled either way. I hate that I'm like the dirty centrist on this, but I see value in both sides. There's mental health concerns with locking down and just staying in the house all day, and there's also problems with a pandemic happening and people acting as if it means absolutely nothing. So I think that we have to find a balance. I think that there will likely always be new versions of this, and this is why I'm buying the Oculus as we speak, because I'm just gonna move into VR, and like that's the real solution to this. The real solution is we're just gonna embrace VR, and yeah, hopefully that works out. We'll talk more in the open.
Do you have your VR? Said Amanda in chat saying that you already had it. Are you just buying it?
I'm literally purchasing it as we speak. I'm waiting
Okay.
on somebody to tell me what accessories I need to buy, and then I'm gonna place the purchase.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. So I was wondering. I figured if you actually had it, then you would not have time to be here anymore. Okay. Well, thank you so much. All right. Let's go to Scott.
Yeah, so, much to the chagrin of all of your viewers, I'll try and stay away from philosophy and morals and ethics here, right? I know that you guys really want to hear me talk shit on consequentialism and utilitarianism and explain why you need like virtue ethics and deontology, but no, I think number one, we've seen a lot of research and data that just doesn't support lockdowns and travel restrictions as an effective means of slowing and stopping the virus. Now, is there some slow to it? Maybe, right? But not enough for it to be efficacious in terms of reducing the overall impact of COVID, especially while we're already in the midst of a pandemic. It's not like this is a new virus completely. It's just a new variant. It's a new surge, right? And on top of that, we have 114 reported cases in South Africa, 19 in Botswana, 12 in the Netherlands, 5 in Australia, 5 in Hong Kong, 4 in Italy, 4 in the UK, 2 in Canada, and then we also have this variant in Germany, Belgium, Israel, Spain, and the Czech Republic, right? That's what's currently reporting, and those are positive cases that we have found. The idea of enacting travel restrictions as a means of slowing this spread is an absurdity, right? It's just not going to work. It's going to get into those countries full tilted some way. If you're worried about the variant and the new effects and the possible problems of it, I understand that. But like I said, I would not get into the philosophy of those things. We'll just look at the data and the science for this debate. I don't think that it's going to be effective means of stopping or slowing the spread of this. The only thing it's going to do is the same thing all of these mandates have done, which is institute policies that make politicians more powerful, institute policies that make corporations richer, and institute economic programs and inflation and issues that have hurt the poor and the middle class at the expense of people living in gated communities that think they can mandate these things away.
Okay, let's go to counterpoints.
Yeah, basically, I would just let it ride at this point. I think anybody who's going to be immunized is going to be immunized, and if there is a complication, the disease is worse or something, then we can kind of dial that in. But this is what the new world looks like, where we're going to have it used to be the cold and the flu that would have like seasonal spikes. Now we're going to have COVID seasonal spikes, and we're going to have variants, and we're going to have annual shots and all that kind of stuff. And I understand that's terrifying for conservatives or whatever to basically, I don't know, get a vaccine that stands a significantly less chance of giving you heart problems than the disease itself. But they're just going to have to fucking cope and deal with it, and we'll have to dial it in. And at this point, I hate to be fucking Darwinian on it, but I'm a little Darwinian on it, particularly when it comes to vaccine hesitancy. They've had time, fuck it, basically.
I hope someone pushes back on something that Connor said. No one does. I'll do it myself.
We're gonna definitely talk in the open for sure.
Yeah. Let's go.
I will trust.
Okay. Jason Society, please.
Yeah, so I was reading over that article that was provided for this, and it seems like it squarely is regarding restricting travel. I think if there is a hotbed, a virus hotbed, I think restricting travel is a good thing. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with limiting our exposure. And that may be what prevents us from having to do full lockdowns in our country. So I'm totally fine with that. I think that we should do everything we can to incentivize people to get the vaccine, short of mandating it if we can. Because really the only way we're going to reach the herd immunity that the vaccine is supposed to provide is if enough people actually get the vaccine to make it worthwhile. At this point, we're not there, and that's why we're still seeing these variants, and that's why we're still seeing spikes in different parts of the world. So where I sit is, yeah, we absolutely should do these travel restrictions. I would like to prevent country lockdowns at all costs if we can, but I think that's an easy way to do it. You know, you just keep out where it's coming from. Hopefully address the issues there. Try to encourage those people in those countries to get vaccinated and to seek medical treatment so that they can be taken care of, and limit our exposure so we can maintain those freedoms.
Okay, let's go to Doobie.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like this is something that we're going to eventually need to work into the usual like array of vaccines people need to get every year or should get every year, like the flu shot and all that kind of shit. I don't really understand the panic. I think that that's a little bit overblown. I think eventually you just got to come to the realization that yeah, some people are going to get sick and die. Old people get sick and die sometimes, and hey, it might happen more often going forward because of this shit. But you know, it's not that crazy. And I think I agree with Connor about the vaccine hesitancy thing. I think that at this point, you know, if you're still hesitant about getting the vaccine, you know, I don't give a fuck. Fuck it. If you want to, you know, put yourself on the fast track to ending up in the hospital, you know, coughing up your lungs or whatever, that's fine. And I think it's totally fine that we shut down borders. If there's a really bad outbreak in South Africa, well, shit, you don't get to go on vacation in South Africa for a while. Big deal. I think it's fine.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Wordy.
Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a ramble. First off, deontology relies on consequentialism. 2 is inflation does not have any relation to spending. In this instance, we're seeing massive inflation rising all across the world, and it seems through the comparable countries, it seems for the most part that the inflation is rising. This whole idea of spending, when you have inflation with the incomplete demand, the incomplete meeting between demand and supply, literally inflation is rising because we're having a supply crunch. Increasing spending has no effect here. Even if it does, it's going to have a minimized effect. So this whole comparison about inflation increasing, massive inflation, now it doesn't happen. Also, I really don't like this idea because first off, South Africa only has 24% of its population vaccinated. So also we can also acknowledge here, Omicron, we don't know if it's a real threat yet, right? We're keeping eyes out. The whole part of purposely putting up the travel bans. This way we can keep an eye out, and if there's no issue, we let it go. That's literally it. It's not this whole art they're taking more power or whatever. It's literally just saying, hey, keep an eye out, make sure we shut it down temporarily, because remember, the issue between supply crunch is not between travelers going for tourist issues in different countries. It's specifically between shipping issues. So this whole thing about everything, and also we also know that the COVID lockdowns were absolutely successful. The problem comes is the inconsistency in application. When we see in India, we had 4 micro lockdowns, and because we only had 4 micro lockdowns in comparison to places like Vietnam or Japan, literally that inconsistency caused more deaths, because you saw a surge in COVID deaths and cases each time. So this whole argument of it doesn't resolve issues, it absolutely does, because it's in the air. If you have more chances to interact with people, you literally cause more issues. So this whole argument of lockdowns didn't work, it's really stupid.
Thank you so much, Biggs.
Yeah, so I think that this whole thing with the new variant is something we probably need to be at least a little bit concerned about. I think that right now they haven't really found if it's any more deadly, maybe a little bit more contagious, possibly. But at this point, I don't think it's really worth freaking out over. Like some of you said earlier, this is something that's going to be endemic now. Basically, we've seen with vaccines and stuff, the effectiveness of them are waning. These constant new variants just aren't going to be something we're going to be able to deal with vaccines. We're just not going to be able to keep up on it. At best, we'll make it similar to the flu, where they're about 50% effective in treating the seasonal flu. With every different time, there's a new year, there's a new flu vaccine, things like that. As far as shutting down the borders, I think that if a country wants to shut down their borders, that's fine. I think what's kind of boggles my mind is that we have all this stuff about the pandemic, but then we have our borders just kind of wide open, not testing people coming across the border and stuff like that. That kind of seems a little counterintuitive to me. But yeah, so I think that as far as the overall thing, I'm not really concerned about COVID anymore. I know it's still a thing that's going to be around, but I think we all kind of just got to get past this. We're never going to be able to completely remove it from society at this point. So I think at this point we just need to kind of mitigate the damage and just kind of move forward and try to, get things back to normal as best we can.
Sneaky, please.
So the problem with the Omicron variant is like multi-factored. So firstly, the test that we've been using to determine whether you've got COVID or not, the Omicron variant is particularly good at avoiding. So they may produce a false negative, which is like the worst. Like a false positive is bad, but when you get a false positive, you can go, well, lockdown just to be safe, which is a pain, but at least you can take safety procedures there. Whereas if you get a false negative, obviously you go, well, it's negative. That means we have to do more tests, we have to spend more money, and maybe you don't get locked down, even though you do have the virus at the end of the day, which is a big problem. Secondly, this is the most mutated variant that we've seen so far. So from the original SARS-CoV-19 or SARS-CoV-2-19, whatever it is, this is the furthest from that. And the problem with that is the spike gene, which is like the way that the virus enters the body or enters a cell, has mutated. That's the part that's mutated, and that's primarily where the vaccines have been targeted. So this one is likely more like partially vaccine resistant at least, right? And if it keeps mutating down this path, then we are going to see fully vaccine resistant COVID. So this is like definitely something to keep an eye on. And I will say there haven't been there's not a lot of research into this yet. However, several studies are being conducted, and we'll see over the next few weeks how that is going. So the Omicron variant is certainly not to be taken lightly for the fact that the virus has come so far. In terms of addressing the problem, quite frankly, the variants are all spraying up out of unvaccinated countries because the virus is still being allowed to spread, still being allowed to mutate. We need to be pumping of vaccines into basically the southern hemisphere. Everybody needs to be fucking vaccinated. We need to be giving out free vaccines to fucking everyone because it's in all our interest to see the entire world vaccinated. And I say this specifically as a Brit because we're the biggest manufacturers of vaccines in the world at the moment, and we need to be sending them fucking everywhere. Everywhere needs to get vaccinated. As far as travel bans go, for the US, potentially, if the Omicron variant, the results show that it is like particularly a pain due to the fact that it's difficult to pick up on its testing, with testing, and it's a little bit more contagious. Although I have seen that it's potentially a little bit less deadly, especially to people with the vaccine. I could see maybe a travel ban being necessary due to the fact that the US has more people coming in from unvaccinated populations, specifically South America, and their low vaccination rate there. Whereas, say, with another country, say the UK, most of our travel comes from countries with very high vaccine rates, so it doesn't really seem necessary to do so. However, in the UK, we are introducing masks again in public spaces, such as shops, like big, what do you call them, we call them supermarkets, like big grocery stores.
Yeah, sure.
And
Y'all
public
got that
transport,
from America.
and public transport as well.
Are you an ASMR streamer?
No, I just have to be quiet because it's like 2 a.m. here.
Yeah.
So I think this is reasonable, right? You don't have to wear a mask just when you're outside. You don't have to wear a mask going to other people's houses. There's no limits on the amount of people you can meet. You can still go to the bar, the pub, or whatever. But to protect these like specifically dangerous areas with just a mask seems quite reasonable, especially because like you only spend like at most like an hour in one of these places. I think it seems fairly reasonable. So it's not to be taken lightly. The root of this issue will get much worse if not addressed, and we need to address the root very quickly. We need to be giving vaccines to the southern hemisphere and those countries of unvaccinated populations. And for now, just follow the fucking rules. Just follow the fucking rules. Wear the mask. Probably social distance. Wash your hands. Do all that shit for now. Because if you don't, in 3 weeks' time, we might have a real fucking problem on our hands.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right. Up to the panel.
I want to echo a lot of this stuff that Sneaky said, because I think Connor and maybe Doobie with the Darwinian takes, it seems a little bit weird. So I have two friends actually who are very close to research with this new variant, and one of them, she literally hit me up today and she said, hey, and this is all preliminary. The data is going to change literally by the day. So trust absolutely no data that you hear on the first day. Even everything that I'm saying now, don't trust it because like things are going to develop, right? But in one of the tests that they did, they said that it looks like the vaccine efficacy dropped by like 40%, right? And this was just one isolated test. So there is this concept that this thing could be a big deal. And when we just go the Darwinian route of, well, if people haven't been vaccinated, oh well, fuck them. It's possible that people that even have been vaccinated could be affected by this. But we'll see probably in 2 weeks to a month how the data bears out, and we'll see what the efficacy is relating to it. The 30 mutations is definitely a big deal for sure. But yeah, this is why when the whole booster conversation happened, a lot of people were upset with me. But I always had to take that we should be exporting this as much as possible to other countries because the Delta variant, the Omicron now, and the other variant, none of them came from within the U.S. border. So this idea that we're gonna get herd immunity in America, to me, it's a antiquated concept. We now live in a interconnected global society. So problems that arise in other nations are eventually going to make their way here through travel unless we completely shut down borders. So even from the beginning of this, I told people that the idea that we're going to reach this normalcy and believe in everything you hear on TV was ridiculous to me. So I think a lot of people should wake up to how connected we are as a society and how catastrophes abroad in respiratory viruses and stuff like that can affect all of us. So yeah,
Base.
it's kind of
So,
I mean, on the bright side,
so
though,
let me.
on
Is
the bright
everyone ready
side,
to?
we are one variant closer to the Sigma variant, which will be very entertaining memes when we get there. Okay,
That will
somebody
be
look at
entertaining.
that.
So
I've
is
read
everyone
about
ready
that.
is everyone ready to buckle up and get their keyboard warrior fingers nice and warmed up because I'm about to dispense with all of this medical misinformation and conspiracy
Here we
theories.
go.
Let's do it. Let's
that
go.
you guys
Are you
engaged
dropping
in.
in the
So-
Are you dropping in the group chat?
what's that? Oh yeah, I'm just wherever we're going, right?
Drop it
So
in the drop it in the group chat.
why do you keep saying drop it in the group chat? What are you talking
Because
about?
he's assuming you have something to back up your perspective.
You
Drop it
want me,
like
you want me to drop all of my sources? We're going to play that boring ass game. I always post all my sources afterwards. Wordy, you can join my Discord. We'll probably have to debate bro you right off the beginning because I'm sure you'll be screaming and screeching at people. But I'll give you access to all those sources afterwards. So ton of new scientific information and some of the problems you guys are talking about, right? I think it's really interesting that Sneaky Debate Man actually kind of got a lot right here, right? Like we're talking about what we know from G said is that we have, we've mapped out some of the changes. Obviously, we don't know what those changes functionally mean, but we know that there's some phenotypical mutations within the spike proteins of the Omicron variant, right? More so than what we saw in the Delta variant, right? Now, we already have research coming out of Marseille from Noir, oh my gosh, Nawara Yahi. I have no idea how to pronounce that correctly because she's French at the University of Marseille. Extremely cited, right? Preliminary research showing ADE already occurring within the Delta variant itself, right? So with ADE already occurring within one variant, and you're talking about additional problems of ADE with the mutations of the spike proteins, right? And then you follow that up with, oh, well, this means we need to get everyone vaccinated, means that like you got to dig deeper into what the research actually says. So trust the science, not this anti-science narrative that you guys are pushing. The problem here, right, is when you have a spike
Yeah, Drucifer, I think you're
that keeps
100% right.
changing its cellular structure. Well, why is this occurring? Well, viruses, right, when you don't have vaccines, the way they naturally mutate is they tend to become more transmissible and less deadly, right? Like that's the life cycle of most viruses, right? Because a virus that kills its host is not a very good virus because it doesn't spread, it doesn't mutate, it doesn't beat out other competing variants, right? So that's what normally occurs. But when you have a leaky vaccine, right, where even Pfizer's own studies show at 4 months that for the Delta variant, they're down to 53% transmission efficacy, which is a whole nother ballpark of getting into what that term actually means, as opposed to what it's designed to do for journalists and abstracts, right? What you understand is that as we continuously develop new variants and we don't change and we're not able to catch up with vaccines, you have what is occurring, which is that they're saying, oh, well, we'll just up the dosage. We'll just up the dosage. Everything will be fine, except that dosage is using long spike proteins. These are not inert spike proteins. That's why we have massive amounts of adverse effects. from these vaccines. That's why these vaccines can be potentially harmful. Now, they're less harmful than alpha variant of the virus, but as you continue, right, as you continue getting more boosters and you keep upping the dosage, you have two major problems. One, ADE, antibody dependent enhancement, right, which can actually make the vaccinated more likely to die from the virus. And two, right, you have the issue of the danger of what these spike proteins can do. We have research, preliminary research, it's obviously not peer reviewed yet, coming out of Sweden, showing that spike proteins have the ability to enter the nucleus of a cell and damage the capacity of the nucleus to repair mutations that can cause cancer. We could be looking at individuals both with COVID and those with the vaccine developing cancer later in life. But the main thing to understand here is that when you have acquired immunity from a vaccine, what your body is doing is producing antibodies for the spike proteins, because that's what's used in the mRNA as well as what's used in the Johnson & Johnson and
For
Medigen
one
in
of
Taiwan.
the 29, right?
Okay,
Right.
so
Right. The problem is,
Yeah,
I didn't finish.
Buddy,
No,
you're taking
wrap it
like
up with
half the
right
fucking
there.
panel.
Yeah.
Right, well, I got to dispense with all this medical misinformation. The problem is,
No, we didn't even present any
we
misinformation
acquired
yet.
immunity, right?
Some of this
Acquired
has been
immunity.
And you're not
Get some
posting any of your
infection.
sources, so I don't fucking
Wait,
care.
okay.
Just let him wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Acquired immunity from a natural infection allows your body to produce antibodies for the membrane, for the hemagglutinin esterase, for the envelope proteins, for the nucleocapsid proteins, for the lipid
Dude,
biolayer
use
membrane,
English
and the
do
spike
it in
protein.
20 seconds instead of 10 minutes. Holy shit.
Like, we don't need all
Okay,
this. I
actually,
don't fucking care.
That is why we have
Complicated. Got it.
ADE.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm gonna
So
hop
what-
on this.
hold on, wait,
so,
hold on,
so,
wait.
no, wait,
Hold on,
GSU, let me finish. Okay.
I just want to
Like
summarize what he
FLS
said, because you're finna argue with him, but a lot of people aren't following what he said. I can say what he said a lot in like regular sentences, right? So what he's saying is that there's 29 proteins in the coronavirus. If you naturally get the disease, you develop immunities even to the other 28, not just the one that's in the virus. So when he was talking about leaky things, what he's saying is that if you have a vaccine that is not fully what's the word we want to use, protective, and the efficacy is fading over time, potentially as that infects hosts that have that vaccine, then the virus itself will learn to replicate against that. That's all he said. But yeah, go ahead. I just wanted people to understand.
So FLS, you kind of, it's kind of funny how you say we're spreading misinformation when literally all you said was bullshit. Okay, first off, natural immunity does not work as well as vaccination. 5 times more
There's no
likely.
such thing as natural immunity. It's called acquired immunity.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, so like basically is when you get infected, you are much more likely to like get sick, have much more longer consequences, much more likely to spread it. So that was the CDC study was recently done. Also, I've looked over like the whole leaky vaccines. In theory, it's possible that potentially a virus is like able to survive the vaccines. But the problem comes is we've done the research on the vaccines now, and we've researched other vaccines that have been implemented, like the whole chicken scratch one. Basically, we understand is when you expose like the HIV drug process, you basically make the you basically combine a bunch of like able to attack a bunch of spike proteins all at once together in the vaccines. Therefore, it's basically impossible for an actual leaky vaccines thing. That's a whole misinformation. It's a lie. It doesn't actually happen in reality. So basically what you've been saying is bullshit. Okay, so like basically, yeah, you're spreading misinformation.
If you
You're going
say
to get
basically
people
enough,
killed.
people might believe you.
Yeah, well, basically, you're an idiot.
So
understand why
basically,
anybody-
based off of this
yeah,
information,
anybody
would it be
would
better to
take-
get
wait, one second,
immunized
Brian,
and then
one
get infected?
Oh my god, you're killing. I don't understand why anybody would take the word of an ANCAP and an anarchist, like trust their ability to interpret medical data or to know what any of the shit that that Fabian or
I've literally researched this, Doobie. I've spent hours
how
upon
the
hours
fuck
of
am I
this.
supposed to trust your ability to research anything?
Do you
You're
want me
an
to send you the studies
You don't-
later? I
you-
can literally
you
send
lack
all of them to you.
basic common sense. Like
Okay,
I don't
Doobie,
think,
shut the fuck up.
I don't think any of this like matters, right? I don't think what the studies say matters. I don't think any of us here qualified to know what any of this actually fucking means in the real world. I think it's way more interesting to have a conversation about the implications and the limitations of a government to place restrictions on a populace because of an outbreak like this, right? And whether or not this is something that we can be okay with, and if it's not something we can be okay with, and why not, and what should the response be if the government tries to lock down again?
Okay, but before anybody else jumps in, Doobie, really quickly, wouldn't the most effective way, at least based off of what I'm hearing, would the most effective way not be to get like immunized and then get exposed to the disease and then have the benefits of both properties?
I think acquired immunity.
Hey, yeah,
like,
how you
it's very
doing?
short-lived,
Thanks for showing
so
up tonight.
It only lasts like, I think it's like 3 months or something like that. So you'd have to get the virus or anything, right?
I've watched the Destiny stream.
Nature magazine did study early on in the pandemic that showed that individuals that had recovered from SARS, the original SARS in 2003, right, had partial acquired immunity to SARS-CoV-2, right?
Yes.
So to say that it
I'm going to back up FLS.
Quicker, right?
Yeah, I'm going to back up FLS. It's not so much whether or not you still have like an active immune response to a disease that's not present in your body. It's whether or not your body has the memory to fight the disease later on, which is difficult to measure.
It doesn't.
So as a result, like, well, I would like to, I don't want to do the fucking study thing. I want to follow Doobie with where he's going. But my point is basically like, I think if you got a vaccine and if I think you got exposed to the disease itself, that would probably give you, like, as long as you didn't get murked by it, that'd probably be the best way to do it. And then if there's people who are immunocompromised who can't do the vaccine, then it's probably best for them to take every safety precaution possible while balancing their life. And that's pretty much what we need to do. So I would say, barring like an increased lethality rate with the new variants or whatever, I would say no lockdowns, get vaccinated, and then eventually you'll get exposed to the disease. And then, like I said, it'll probably be like the cold or the flu. And then Gambit, if I seemed like I was being a little bit too Darwinian with it, I'm not saying like, hey, let's just like deliberately infect everybody who's immunocompromised. I'm just saying like the Swedish model plus vaccinations. For those of you who don't remember, the Swedish model was basically like healthy people still do their thing and people who are immunocompromised stay home. So that plus vaccines, I think, is a perfectly reasonable balance, barring
you're
any
right,
information.
Barring one problem, and that is if a new variant comes out and the vaccine causes ADE, which we saw in phase 2 clinical trials with mammals. Right, we haven't seen it yet in humans.
Vitro. What doesn't mean it doesn't demonstrate in reality? Okay.
Right, like, that's literally what I'm saying. It was phase 2 clinical, and we saw it in.
Yeah, but then we have
not
studies
seen it in
today
humans.
that indicates that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
so basically, we have updated.
We have, like I just said, I can send you the one from Marseille that was published in Journal of Infection August 16th, and was recently New England as well, from Marseille, showing that the Delta variant is showing some signs of ADE. Right, and so as we have a population that's constantly having breakthrough infections and constantly spreading variants, and these variants are able to mutate, and the ones that are vaccine resistant are the ones that are the most likely to survive.
There's no such thing as a
But do you get that we wouldn't have those variants if people got vaccinated? Like, what the fuck?
Sorry.
Wait. Hold on, wait. We cannot agree all the way with Fabian, but some of what he's saying is absolutely scientific, and to deny it is to be like ascientific.
No, the problem comes...
Wait. It is. Hold on. Just to be clear, because I don't want to argue this. I feel like what Doobie said was amazing, and which never happened. So we should like take heed. But there is a danger in breakthrough cases of any vaccine if the vaccine is able to live in those people and replicate. That's possible. To what degree you think it's possible with COVID, I don't even care to have that conversation, right? But that the statement that he's saying is true. He may take it to a far hyperbolic level than you do, but that statement is absolutely true. But we shouldn't argue that.
But the problem that comes is because when you think about it, right, is you get the vaccine and you get infected, right? It's not because you're going to individually develop the variant, because your body is able to fight off, because it's able to target the specific enough proteins and be able to like deal with the issue. The issue is the unvaccinated you spread it to, and that's the issue. It's not you individually because you got vaccinated, but if you get more and more people vaccinated, we see like with other diseases, is because more and more people get vaccinated, or the people who got the disease and died, you know what happens? The variants don't develop. We have things like the smallpox because people aren't getting vaccinated. Smallpox like came back, and it's the same thing with COVID. That's the issue.
Yeah, I agree with Wordy and Doobie. I mean,
bifurcated, live attenuated, bifurcated.
I mean, you can use as many words as you want to use.
Yeah, use English,
works with smallpox. It doesn't fucking work with this fact.
No, he's lagging out. He's being censored. Anyway, I agree with Doobie and I agree with Wordy. Like, yes, we do see these variants come out of unvaccinated populations. That's where the variants are coming from, right? There's no infections coming out of new variants coming out of Germany.
We don't actually know if it came from Hong Kong or from South Africa. We surmise it most likely came from
we surmised it most likely, exactly. So the best we've got is it comes from an unvaccinated population, which supports my argument. Thank you. So this goes back to my original point. We do need to get these people vaccinated, and to move on to Doobie's point, right? The eggheads know better than any of us, right? To imagine that they didn't think of any of this when they were like, yeah, you should get the vaccine. We know how the vaccines work. Is fucking ridiculous, right? The people in it's probably like one person on the vaccine team in Cambridge who knows more about this than all of us combined times 10, right? They know way more about this than all of us, and their advice is way more sound than anything you could possibly look up or try to understand on the internet, right? I completely trust them, right? Because they've done this literally for generations, and they have saved countless numbers of people. So I think appealing to authority in this sense is pretty okay, because they're fucking smart, okay? They're big fucking...
Well, you have to assume pure incentives.
Fat brain
Can you
eggheads.
demonstrate that they're actually having bad incentives to do things? Like, this is the whole problem. You can poke holes...
Are you an anarchist?
Yeah, I'm an anarchist, and I look at how the things work. So
you can't come of any examples of the state and large corporations having bad incentive structures?
Potentially doesn't mean they are, right? I can think of potentially anything if I really want to pull things out of my ass.
And I said you're assuming pure incentives.
No, but you're assuming impure incentives.
Y'all
no, I'm not. I just
argue
said
from two extremes, so it's not going to be solved here. Y'all can maybe solve that later, right? Both of y'all are on two polar opposite sides.
Yeah, the smart side and the dumb side.
Whatever.
All right, buddy.
But anyway, yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to interrupt.
Well, no, so I was going to say, but I don't feel like there's any advice here that isn't in line with the fucking eggheads. We're basically saying, we have to balance out all of these threats, and just because you're like a world-renowned virologist doesn't mean that you know shit about economics. So basically, it has to be a balanced threat. So I would say 99% of the time, there's probably 1% of cases where immunization, maybe you're the one fucking person where the vaccine will fuck you up more than the fucking disease. Doubt it. Very much doubt it. So 99% of people need to get vaccinated, and then we need to go to the hybrid model, because the truth is that there are impacts, not just from COVID itself, but from the economics. And trying to get to maybe something a little bit outside of like who knows how to use the most 14-letter words. The COVID absolutely has affected inflation. I'm not saying the spending is a problem, but I'm saying that you're talking about the supply chains. The supply chains are interrupted because of the economic activity that's been affected by the pandemic disease. So we can't pretend that like these things aren't worthy of consideration in the totality of the circumstance.
Yeah, well, that's why you can introduce rigorous testing for trade people, but you also maintain travel bans. This way you can at least maintain the economics while also decreasing the likelihood of the spread. Like, this is a no-brainer. We've done this kind of stuff in the past.
Got it. America first. Got it. Okay, cool.
I mean, at this point, we don't know if a travel ban is necessary. Like Fabian is right. There are extremely low amount of cases at the moment. We seem to be on top of it. Maybe some like light restrictions, like I said, what England is doing, wearing masks in like heavily crowded places that people need to be in. I think is very reasonable. Like introducing a travel ban after this variant has been around for like 3 weeks now. It just seems really unnecessary.
Well, it's because it was Africa. No, I'm joking. But
well, I mean, Africa as a continent is only 6% vaccinated, and they seem to be doing pretty well. There's a lot. We're trying to figure out why. Some people think it might be exposure to malaria. They're doing research on that. They think that might be a protective factor. The other part is likely that there's a lot more rural communities and they're a lot less spaced out as opposed to living in population density. But they think both of those may be a factor. It'll be interesting to see if exposure to malaria or some antivirals that have been used in that have been helpful in some way in reducing the replication of the virus.
What is the reliability of the reporting in those areas, though? I mean, is the reliability of the reporting good, or could it be that a lot of people just aren't reporting that they have COVID?
Or that they have testing facilities and all those things. We can't assume that data is comparable to what we have here, right? Especially since they can't even get their hands on fucking vaccines.
Right. I mean, everything is a guess, right? What the CDC does is a guess. I mean, they don't, when they track breakthrough cases, they do it in 99 counties and 14 states, right?
This is directly reported by different hospitals, and they literally take that information. Like, what are
exactly?
you?
Did you know they were taking money to report it?
I mean, they were in the beginning, but regardless, that's what I'm saying is that everything is an estimate, right? So and you have some level of statistical likeliness of variance, right? Like you can say like with some degree of mathematical certainty what range it falls in, and within that range, Africa is still one of the least impacted continents, and many of the African nations are least impacted, with the exception of South Africa.
Well, and kind of going back to your point, like, you know, doesn't that kind of indicate like urban density might be playing a factor, like and malaria too, like that's a super interesting example for like how complicated these things can be. Talking a little bit shit, but not too much shit. Is the fact that like basically like wasn't the whole thing for ivermectin or whatever? Is it like it basically disrupts the ability of like viral bodies to replicate or something like that? So that would actually be super fucking interesting. If some kind of, I'm not talking about like ivermectin specifically, but like I'm just trying to say like it would be interesting if that protective factor actually was helping out a lot. But again, like kind of like you said, all speculative. All this is speculative like a motherfucker. But that's where I think that you just have to return to the fucking model that makes most sense, which is we can't shut down the global economy in perpetuity. People need to take calculated risks, and we got to keep the world moving. You know, barring any lethality information, you got to keep it moving.
Wait, so Connor, are you in favor of like vaccine passes or passports, whatever the fuck they're calling them now?
That would actually be interesting. So, like, I would say continental United States, no, but maybe international. If individual nations want to set their own standards, I wouldn't be offended by that.
Okay. I mean, personally, I'm totally fine with them within the continental United States. But
well, we know you are, buddy.
I know you're not that intelligent yet, so.
Right.
It's okay. The frog hasn't evolved fast enough. But I do want to say, like, it's the whole model. Like, basically, countries are like, hey, like, it's not just like America first. It's like basically countries saying, hey, we're not going to travel like in these areas because we all understand if this stuff gets like really worse, it gets worse. You know, like. It's not just this whole America First model. I feel like that was kind of like a meme, but like basically,
I was absolutely memeing. I was just saying the Fuentes crowd would be fucking happy that you're like, oh, you know, we have to take dangers into consideration, so therefore we should actually do not just or I think somebody suggested travel bans but not economic bans. I think that's an interesting like quasi model, because the truth is that like the economics, like the movement of cargo containers, the movement of goods between countries is almost more important than the movement of people themselves.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
that was me on that.
Remark on something like past before. They are testing in like at Mexico, like the border and everything. It's just the problem comes is the amount of resources they have dedicated. So like if you want more like effective testing, you just want to dedicate more resource to be able to deal with that more than anything.
So my issue is that with this let it ride type mentality, that like it kind of like I and this is nothing new. I'm not saying anything profound, right? That when we see statistics, right, like those deaths, like they tend to not mean anything to us, right? Just like numbers go up, numbers go down, but like we forget those are real people on the other side of those, right? Those are each of those are a tragedy that's occurred, right, here at home and around the world. So it's like, well, just let it ride.
It's a young bias.
Would you?
What's the option? What's the other option?
Well, I mean, I think at least like trying to bend the curve, right? Buying us time to get more people protected, right? So there are a lot of people who are not, and especially like around the world, right? So like I didn't mean this just to be specifically like a U.S. focused topic, right? But just like around the world. There are other countries like Singapore. Singapore has said, like, I think it was our health minister that was on some television program saying, yeah, we're just gonna let it ride. The best we're gonna do, we're gonna up our medical capacity, right? Or try to get more hospital beds. But other than that, we're done with this. Like, it's just gonna burn out, right? I think the merit of that is also balanced against your resources. If you are a country that has access to vaccines, right, and then people aren't taking them, then that's one thing, right? on the other side of it, countries that simply can't get it. Like
it seems to me we need to motivate as many people in this country and abroad to get the vaccine, no matter what.
Vaccination rates, right?
People
like,
who are
in the single
immunocompromised
digits.
or for other reasons can't get the vaccines
I think we just
are the
gotta,
ones
like,
at risk,
realize
and those are the
realize
people we
that
need to
the
take care of. We have a
nations,
responsibility
that
to the
can,
meekest among us, and
that
that's
have
where
the
this
most
lies.
vaccination rates are keeping it away, right? Are gatekeeping it behind a fucking paywall. The vaccines that can save individual lives. So they say like, well, these countries need to let it ride. I mean, especially since we're all interconnected.
So
Right, but you're taking a lot of presumptions there, right? Number one, like look at Sweden, right? I mean, they had a heavy lockdown initially, and then they let it ride, and they've let it ride the entire time.
They also have incredible contact tracing. They have some of the best contact tracing in the world. That's why it worked, because of the contact tracing. We won't even fucking do that here.
No, they said it was a disaster. Like the health minister was like, "This was a terrible idea. We never should have done this. Like, what a fucking why did we do this?"
And yet, we're still in the same situation. We're still in the same boat, and their deaths have not been any statistically significantly larger than countries that did institute large lockdowns. So yeah, you can say like, "Oh, people in government institutions said that it was a disaster," but when you actually look at the data, it's not a fucking disaster. What is a real disaster here is that you're calculating human lives, right? Which I think is really interesting because you bring up like the whole like, you know, Stalin quote, the death of one is a tragedy, the death of a million is a statistic, right? And yet at the same time, you're looking at everything from the lens of COVID deaths instead of looking at it from the lens of what is individual liberty worth? What are the things that are not being tracked in these situations? What does economic fallout look like? What does that overburdened middle class look like? Like what of a lot of other issues that are involved?
What's individual liberty good for if you're fucking dead? Like what the fuck?
What's the freedom of having to live in a world where a little virus could have been avoided and we just let it run and kill us?
Obviously can't be avoided. So like this idea of herd immunity you already stated was fucking bullshit, right? The fact of the matter is,
like Singapore literally dropped their lockdowns because they had over an 80% vaccination rate. Like they were able to ease it off like over time because they said, hey,
and are they COVID free? Is COVID gone?
It's not about being COVID free. It's about being able to decrease it to the point to where it's not a
right. It's about a certain level of authoritarianism is acceptable from the supposed anarchist. Is acceptable
even if it's
from
like
the state,
so that we can accept the same policies. Dumb fuck.
Scott, at which point?
If it was the community or the state, you would accept the same policies. You don't believe in
individuals choose to fucking get vaccinated. That's perfectly fucking fine.
Scott, at what point should
not to get vaccinated? You can kick them out. Like this is part of anarchist policy.
Scott, at which point is it a tragedy then? How many people have to die for it to be a tragedy in your book?
Ooh, that's an interesting number, right? That's
everybody agrees that a pandemic.
I mean, if it was your sister or your brother or your grandma or your dad, would it be a tragedy then?
There were people who have died as a result.
You're missing. Wait, hold on, wait. We don't have to go down this path. Everyone on this panel, hopefully, I think Fabian, you might be the only one that does it. Everyone agrees that this is a tragedy. It's a pandemic. Every pandemic, this is a tragedy. So we don't have to go down. Yeah. So let's kill that. Everybody agrees that it's a tragedy. So we don't even need to go down.
Smite Knight, thank you very much for the 100 bits. Rock and roll, man. Your panel was great the other night. Yeah, you were a little too hard on yourself, I think.
No. What's the liberty of dying in a world?
No, it wasn't even that.
Avoid
I think where do you forgot the great point you made? Right. So in an anarchist framework, correct me if I'm incorrect, because I'm not an anarchist. If the community decides to do something and an individual in this community decides not to do what the community decides to do, you can kick them out of your community.
Yeah, right? That's totally normal. Yeah.
That's literally like you would call that authoritarianism because a group is like enacting its power of violence.
Why would I? No, that's not what I'm saying.
Wait, stop. 1 second. So we don't really have the ability to just kick people out of the United States, unfortunately. But you can go a half.
I mean, we do deport people all the time, but okay.
Not enough. A half step in that direction. With like a vaccine passport or a vaccine pass, right? So why not do that? Hey, the community has decided to do this. You're not doing it.
The community didn't decide.
So because you're not doing it, right? We're going to restrict your ability to move around in the community for the safety of everybody else.
Because you're comparing apples to oranges, right?
Well, the community did decide by voting for those politicians that decided to enact those regulations and those policies. They very much did decide with their vote.
You're comparing apples and oranges, right? True anarchism.
Apples and oranges are both fruit. Why can't you compare them?
Okay, all right, but regardless, they're two different things here, right? Under an anarchist model, you wouldn't just have one anarchist community, most likely, right? You would have multiple anarchist communities. Now, obviously, anarchism as it's existed in like the Republic of Gospaya or Tehran or some of the more successful ones, right? Like they have been isolated, but that's because they've been surrounded by nation states, right? I don't think any anarchist is advocating that like everything will be fine so long as we have our island and the rest of you should just live in nation states, because they would still feel bad for people living under authoritarianism and tyranny, right? So the idea of a voluntaristic or a communitarian system or a Georgian system or even an ANSOC and ANCOM libertarian socialist system is, yes, if the community decides that they don't like you, they can kick you out, but you're not like you're going to another community. That's not the same thing.
But here's the issue, FLS. We don't live in an anarchist society. We live in
it was right. It was asked to me, so I'm answering the question from that framework, and I'm saying why we can't compare those.
But the question
You're
then
agreeing
comes
with
is,
me.
but the question then comes is, how do we deal with that if we're the society we're living in right now, when we have to live under a state, when we understand this is a real issue, when the people who have the power, if they fail to protect us, even if they are our authoritarian dickheads, if they fail to protect us, that is basically us as anarchists can say, hey, you're not doing your job properly. Like that's one aspect of saying.
It's not protecting people to say that you are getting rid of your right to informed consent.
I think enough about anarchist theory.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to point out, like, basically, like, the frustration that comes when we as anarchists just say, oh, an anarchist society, anarchist model. We have to look at the living society we are now.
Right. You're pointing out what I already answered.
What y'all are pointing out is that anarchists try to rebuild the state without saying it's the state.
Basically.
And we should just skip this entire conversation, right? So let's go back to what we were actually here to talk about, right? So, like, the lockdowns and stuff, like, I understand where you're coming from, Prime, and you were the person who kind of made me pessimistic going into the pandemic, because we had that panel where we were talking about should we export the vaccine to other countries, and I noticed then that we're way too nationalistic to support giving it away at a rate that we should. And like that's what the booster conversation is really important. I was going to ask you, how do you feel about the booster conversation? Because every booster could, even though protection is waning for Americans, every booster would be a new person that wanted to be vaccinated, right? Which reduces the amount of unvaccinated bodies that the virus can live in. So how do you feel about boosters versus exporting those to other countries?
I think if you're asking me specifically, I think that boosters are going to be, as far as I can tell, right? Not a virologist, but I think they're going to be a part of life, right? Like a normal like virus or vaccine panel, right? That we get, like it's just going to be a thing. So if that's the case, and then it makes sense that these countries are providing boosters to their individuals, because it's just part of what's going to happen. I'm not mad that countries are providing boosters, right? Which I guess you could say might be denying cure to others. I'm mad that they aren't letting go of those patents, that they aren't providing not just the intellectual property, right? But the infrastructure, if need be, even though lots of places do actually already have the infrastructure is already there. There are labs, there are factories that can make the vaccines. They absolutely can. Don't listen to people who say they can't. It's already been proven, right? They can actually do that. Let's give them, if they're missing manpower or anything, right? Let's get it in their hands so they can start producing for themselves, right? Like it's
worse than that, PrimeCayes. Pfizer is leveraging national banks and military bases in South American countries as means of them getting loans for vaccines, and then saying that they're not promising to give them to them in any amount of time, just as they get them, and saying that they're not financially responsible for any adverse effects or any problems that occur, because they know that there's likely to be tons of problems with these vaccines.
Wait, so
what?
So I think the US is at a
Okay,
where...
did you just pull this out of
I'm sorry, who smoked their crack this morning?
Wait, hold on. I don't think there's actually anything wrong with that. So whether it's Pfizer doing it or it's the U.S. government doing it, what's the issue with us exchanging these vaccines or access to the vaccine for like loans or influence or like a fucking military base or something? I think that's totally fine. I don't think there's any reason we should just give away the vaccines
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
to all these random countries.
I think we should be giving them away because it's in our own interests,
It's
right? Like
protected
having new
trade
variants,
relations.
having new variants like spring up and like potentially mutate, and like we have to fucking like shut down the whole country again, shut down the whole fucking global economy again because we were just like, no, vaccines. We're not give you vaccines. It's just
So-
like, why would we do that? Like we need them to be vaccinated.
Right.
So we have to get
That's
new variants.
Sneaky's exactly right because it shows the hypocrisy of the entire conversation. right?
FLS, could you just
It's in our own
get a
interest
little,
to make sure
could you get a
everybody's
little more
vaccinated.
specific
but
for
we
me?
can,
Like,
we can use. 1 second. So yeah, Sneaky, I agree, right? And if you were to look at it that way, it's in our interest to get everybody vaccinated. But I think there are ways to get there that don't involve us just giving away the vaccines.
Like
So
what?
Whether it's a loan, whether it's some kind of influence within their
Why
country,
would we do that?
Whether it's just a
Why
favor
wouldn't
down
we
the
do
road,
that?
like why
would we want to put some sort of like paywall, some sort of like barrier to entry for
Because
this when it's
we
like something that we
developed
need?
it.
It's like necessity for our survival.
This literally affects every single person on the planet.
Yeah.
So
Why
like
would you- why
not
would you-
giving
why
away
would
the
you put
vaccine
barrier
seems
to entry?
incredibly
We're paying
ignorant to
no
me.
those
Why would you do that?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
what they're
the
what they're
issue,
really
like-
what they're trying to ask you to do, being Connor, is what if we die through this capitalistic experiment with the vaccine, right? What if because we're withholding this because of a paywall, there's new variants that come out and then
Not even any paywall, just like
Well,
any kind of
hold on,
disincentive.
but if
Why
another
would you put any
country-
disincentive?
Right, so if another country cares so little about their population that they're not willing to take a loan or to allow us to put a bank in their fucking country to give them
but they
the
can
vaccine,
kill us too.
then,
That-
hey,
that
fuck,
fucks
that's on them.
us.
And
They
that
can
fucks
kill
us.
you too, dude.
That
one
fucks
second,
us, though,
and-
Doobie.
And we can impose consequences for not doing this.
But you
right?
can't
But- so if
if
you don't
there's
have
new
it, we can say,
variants.
hey, if your population is not vaccinated, they don't get to travel across the world. You're going to be fucking stuck in this.
He's taking a bit of China's
yeah,
foreign
but that's-
policy.
I
He's
think
doing a bit of
that's-
debt trapping.
I think that's
Oh,
fine,
that
and I think-
affects
I think-
trade.
and
China
I
was
think
a
that
super
the
nice soft
rational
power. What are
thing-
you talking about?
I think the rational thing from their perspective would be to take the deal, right? So I don't think
Doobie-
there's any reason we need to.
Hey,
do
wait,
this.
so like this is the issue though.
But that
like,
affects trade. That affects a lot of. We can't just go to every country and say, "Hey, if you don't pay us for the vaccine, then we're gonna block completely your like."
Absolutely.
I
This
don't think
isn't
we're
real.
saying that at all.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold
That's
on.
what he just
We-
said.
So wait. So we can say that, but
I
we
said
cannot, what
both.
I actually said before is that if country, if you're not developing the vaccine, if you're not giving it up, if your population isn't this percentage vaccinated, we're not going to allow traffic from your country into our country. We're not going to trade with you because you're not taking this seriously and you're putting us.
And then they're
So
gonna
then
go
now we're back to
your-
it
then
at
they're
the
gonna-
economic
no, no,
law
and
that
they're
you said
gonna
you
get
didn't
their
want to
And then
begin
you
with.
give them- and then you give them a path to correct that through trade and with you, right? To
But
get this
if they
vaccine,
fly
whether it's
So,
to make
okay,
it
wait,
free
so
or
I-
embrace whatever the fuck.
Wait. This is a ridiculous. This is like when we don't understand how globalized society is. When they fly to other countries that fly here, those people and their variants will still make it here. It doesn't matter.
We're a global hegemon, though. There's not that many people who are outside of our sphere of influence. Like I don't know what this hypothetical is.
Only the fucking capitalist supporters
you-
could see saving the entire planet as a fucking chance to like expand imperialism. Like fuck you guys, fuck you guys, fuck you both. What a disgusting thing to believe. Oh yeah, do you know what? I know the whole world is gonna die, and maybe us as well.
Whole world is
you're
gonna
being-
die.
you're being a little
Can
bit
you
alarming.
scale your
There-
shit a
there-
little
there's
bit?
money we can make off of this as long as there's a profit. We're good, right? We're good.
Like, they're just, look, they're just, at the end of the day, they're just Africans, all right? Just let them die if they don't
So
want to
after
submit to
breaking
us.
the brain of all of the anti-capitalists on the panel, are you now willing to admit that Pfizer, that funds half these fucking studies that you guys love to fucking get your data
Oh my
from,
God.
is a shit fucking corporation that might have some, I don't know, financial
sorry,
incentives?
you could say, wait.
They have financial
Any
information.
group, any corporation may have that. They have to demonstrate that exists in reality. For like Pfizer got a majority of its funding from Germany, not even the U.S. So like this is like really stupid as an argument. Just because it's the potential doesn't mean it is abusing its authority there, right? Why would it want to abuse its authority? It doesn't want to get its people sick. It doesn't want them to die. It loses its entire public support by the
You
government.
say-
It doesn't make
Okay,
sense.
Just remember, Pfizer also makes the treatments, not just the vaccines. So, like, to them, like, what's the profit motive there, right? The profit motive is in the treatment, not the vaccine. You make more off of treating illnesses than you do off vaccinating. So,
Okay, hold on. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
why wouldn't
unless you have to get
why
a
wouldn't they
booster
want to give that away?
every
Like, you know,
Unless you have to get a booster every 3 months. Just because Pfizer came out with one treatment doesn't mean that they make the treatments, right? They're not making monoclonal antibody therapy, right?
It's also not very profitable. Vaccines are not profitable.
Okay, before it passes, I have to address this. What fucking Spoon was acting like, or Sneaky Debate Man, he was acting like, ha ha ha, we're Americans and we have the vaccines and you don't get them until you give us all your bases. That's not what the fuck I'm saying. I'm just saying, okay, well, Brit Bonger, whatever, I don't give a shit. So fucking, but at the same time, for Western countries and developed countries and all that kind of stuff to say, hey, listen, we'll give this shit to you for fucking free. We want to give it to you for free, as a matter of fact, but you have to administer it in a way that we think is intelligent, because basically we don't want like partial vaccinations to lead to mutations. Not only that, maybe we'll give you like some kind of licensing for the fucking shit, and out of that, like, we want to do military cooperative shit, and like pretending for a fucking second that like this isn't gonna happen is insane. And then number two, acting like it's only lose-lose. This is what's frustrating for me about like geopolitics or whatever, is like it's always like win-lose scenarios, where much of geopolitics is like win-win-win or like win-win-lose. So it's not always like brown people, black people are gonna die, but the whites are gonna rule the world. Like, it's not that fucking shit. But it's like, hey, how do we leverage Western hegemonic power?
Sorry, hold on. What is lose-lose about? You guys don't die, and also we guys don't die. There's no.
But you also made this fucking point where we're all gonna fucking die. Listen, I hate to sound like a fucking conservative, but like literally, like, fuck, like can we not pretend that this is like the fucking Black Plague that's wiping out a fucking
I do want you guys to know I really did miss you all a lot while I was off. You guys, I look forward to the time I get to spend with you guys and joke with you guys and chat and all that. You all are awesome. I really do appreciate each and every one of you guys that comes in and views. So thanks for being here tonight too.
I don't think that would happen. Like, what are you talking about? Like, pandemic disease is bad, but what the fuck are you talking about?
Connor, did you not understand? Like, this, what are we on, like the 6th mutation now? It's gonna keep fucking mutating. They keep mutating. How long until we get a bad one, right? And we're all really fucked from it.
You understand the last time I got a fucking flu shot was like a decade ago, right?
You realize that's what happened.
The flu every year. We're all gonna die from the flu.
Yeah, but because we were able to get vaccinated enough originally with the flu, then it's not an issue as much anymore.
You realize that's what happened with. Hold on. You realize that's what happened with RSV and dengue fever, right? Is it kept mutating because of vaccinated people, and the vaccine became more dangerous to those with dengue fever and RSV.
Let me reach Fabian. Fabian, you're going way too hard on this dude. Like, I understand that you have somewhat of a scientific basis, but you're being so hyperbolic that it's almost disgusting. Just like people with the vaccine, if there's a leaky virus, it's possible that it could learn to grow in those people's body. It could do the same thing if you're unvaccinated. So your body unvaccinated could also get the virus and die. So this
absolutely, I've never said that wouldn't happen.
This whole appeal to everyone with the vaccine,
appeal to the science.
No, you're not appealing to science.
You're appealing to your science.
Vaccines. It doesn't happen in reality.
Yeah, this is some like top tier anti-vax rhetoric. Maybe the vaccine makes you more.
So I guess we should stop wearing seatbelts too, because people die in car accidents when they have seatbelts on.
You can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but
if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, it's a fucking duck.
I apologize for making this about America, right? But, there was a recent Gallup poll that showed that 98% of Democrats and 84% of Republicans overestimate the danger of COVID hospitalization rates. 41% of Democrats believe that it is a 50% or higher chance that if you catch COVID in any way, shape, or form, that you will be hospitalized.
Thanks for deflecting from the leaky vaccines. I'm glad you're moving off the dumb point.
No, I've made my point several times that you're just wrong.
No, I've literally looked at this. I've had people argue about leaky vaccines before.
I've decided I actually don't value human life at all, and we should just use this as an opportunity to expand human power, regardless of how many people have to die. All right? Because I don't care about anyone outside of my immediate circle. Okay, fuck everyone. Fuck everyone else.
Is that supposed to be a parody of what I'm saying?
Okay. So I do want to say specifically here. Here's the issue, Connor. Is there's two kinds of like soft power you can kind of leverage, right? There's the soft power where you directly say, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to have some sanctions on you. But there's also the soft power where you build goodwill.
Oh, we've already established nobody should be talking about the medical efficacy of any of this shit because nobody's fucking qualified. But Scott is really fucking hard up on this shit because he's a fucking anarcho-capitalist, like AKA scum of the earth. But you know,
like different governments to like fuck it up. No, they don't want the populace dead. They want to maintain their authoritarian control. So why wouldn't they like give good vaccination policies? It doesn't make sense to me.
Because we live in the real world and logistics and governance is fucking hard as shit, and it doesn't even matter if they're fucking malevolent. They could just be incompetent, meaning that you have to have checks and balances for power, and not only that, you don't get things unless you ask for them. So maybe, man, I don't know, SDM, maybe Doobie was like, let's wield our Western hegemonic power against the balance of lives of brown and black. That's not what the fuck I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, hey, Nicaragua, you got a fucking drug problem. Train with our fucking SWAT team so we can up your fucking ability to actually do.
That's precisely what he wants, which is why I think it's hilarious he's talking about being fucking sketched about corporations, because he exactly wants that in his society.
Why you're taking this as an opportunity to expand America's influence? It should not be about that.
Why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't you?
What do you mean? Why wouldn't you? What is this like? What is this bonkers?
Are you on a politic? Hold on. Okay, so number one, you accuse everybody else of autism, but number two, you're on a panel about politics, which is very specifically about the manifestation and wielding of power. So why are you acting like?
I never accuse anyone of being autistic. I don't know who the fuck you've been talking to who sounds like me, but that's...
there was like three people fucking talking, so...
I never ever do that.
Okay.
The idea that like any kind of opportunity to leverage the power of America to be increased should be taken is ridiculous, especially when like I guess I'm being hyperbolic, but the state of the world is at risk, right? Like,
yeah, you're being hyperbolic.
Why would we do this? Right? Literally, how many fucking millions of people have died from COVID so far? We just gonna like keep that number going up because we got a chance of like getting some more power. Fuck you guys, I don't care if you're dead. Man, you won't fucking care. Do you know what? You won't fucking care until there's someone in your family dead, right? And that's the fucking be all and end all of it, because you don't fucking
politicians are never going to give a fuck.
So the issue here.
Oh no, I almost died from COVID and it fucking sucked. That's all I'm saying. I almost fucking died. So
if you leverage your power, like
love it
to like do that, but there's also like the aspect of like the flash, the clapback. If you do that, you potentially ruin your relationships further, saying, oh, America's just going to like abuse us of whatever situation is going to get. Like that makes sometimes countries less likely to negotiate with you. It feels to me as like in our situation right now, we're all dealing with big issues, so we should try as freely as we can without like this like kind of like coercive measure and like potentially ruin our future relationships with these countries. Like if they say, oh, America helped us, they care about us, like hell yeah.
That's
like
not
that.
How
so Connor and Doobie,
it's a double stream. It's both ways. It's not just one way or the other. It's both ways how they potentially work.
They're gonna look for the next opportunity to screw us over to benefit themselves, and they're gonna fucking do it.
No, listen,
great, that's fine. At least they're vaccinated while they're doing it.
Doobie, this is how we do it. Doobie, this is how we do it. Right, if you're a capitalist, right, you adopt the Sam's
Club. It's about capitalist. It's about being political.
No, but listen. No, he's been capitalist, but no, listen. I'm a capitalist too. So this is what we do, right? If you look at what Sam's Club did, they gave out free samples to everybody, right? And then they eventually became one of the most wealthiest franchises of all time. So we give out the vaccine, the people love it, and then they'll buy more, right? And then when they buy more, that's when you make the money. When they're like, hey, this is so good that pack that you gave me is so good that I'm going to buy more, then that's what you do.
I remember doing this in high school, but it certainly wasn't with vaccines.
Yeah.
Okay, but can y'all, okay, like seriously, we're on a politics panel, and like I understand the U.S. State Department is incompetent. Like, trust me, I get that part of what Wordy is saying, but
it wasn't even about. It wasn't even about incompetence. It was just saying like the ways we can leverage power. There's like the negative sides, but there's also like the ways we can do it in like positive.
Yeah, like, okay, do you think like a State Department person is gonna be like, yo, I was watching the Reverie last night, and Connor thought this awesome idea where we could fuck over small countries. That way they would take the vaccine, but then we would wield all of our power. And then they just like walk up to like some fucking banana republic in Central America and they're like, yo, bitch, give us all of your natural resources or else you're not getting shit from the fucking vaccine.
Connor, I just want to remind you, Connor, I just want to remind you how incompetent you said the government was. So the opportunity for them to possibly be watching the show and listening to you, you never know.
Connor,
They've made stupider decisions off less.
Society just convinced me. I rescind my argument. You're right. The State Department's incompetent. We can't trust them with this. You're right.
Connor,
My bad.
you know where the term banana republic came from, right?
Yes, interference in Central American countries at the behest of American power.
None of that's relevant.
Right.
Here.
So, but that's what I'm saying. You're saying like, why would they do that? And we're like, yeah, they do that. They already do that. That's where the term comes from, right? Like, this is the way they engage in geopolitics.
This is the way of the world. We're agreeing with each other. What's the disagreement?
Okay, wait. So, like, the issue here, Connor, is I understand.
You like cheap bananas?
I understand your perspective. I understand, like very much black-pilled on the state of like the State Department and intelligence operations. I understand.
But Jason Society won this debate. I already conceded my point.
But we have to understand is we're in a unique.
You hear that?
This
Even Connor said I won.
This is fundamentally about.
I fucking won.
Your state of your own fucking country, the people that live within it, like at the perspective of leaders, right? Is what like you can say, okay, we can leverage our power to like say, hey, if you don't do this, we can like enforce some sanctions. But there's also like that's the fundamental balancing relationship is sometimes you have to use like the positive incentives, sometimes you use the negative incentives if you're a leader. It's the stick and
you believe in sanctions.
I don't see how anything that anybody
only for fun.
Like Jason's the only person who had a good point, which was our government's incompetent. We shouldn't trust them to do basic diplomacy. But like, so that's like that's a good point. But fucking like all the other points that you're saying is like we have to balance our power. We have to make sure that we're creating situations in which everybody can flourish. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like what are we saying that's different from each other?
We do such good diplomacy and spying that we remain the #1 world power this long. We do quite a great job.
Like for a country that is so fucking obsessed with maintaining their power and their sovereignty, fucking just completely disrespecting any other country's ability to do so, right? Like,
I'm sorry, what country are you from?
Hold on. Yeah, it's not like I'm fucking in charge of it, all right? It's not like I'm in charge of it or defending the position.
Yeah, but can you say it? Because I'm just gonna keep asking it until you.
I'm from England, all right? Right. So,
Pax Britannica, remember?
Right, so like fucking.
Now, Sin, that would be a first. It's usually disdain that the police officers have for me.
The other foot for 2 fucking seconds, right?
Let him finish.
Right? You're in one of these like unvaccinated poor ass countries, right? You get people dying in the thousands, fucking people you know, your loved ones, whatever, right? Dying in the thousands, right? Big countries, go to the vaccines, right? So many fucking vaccines, they're fucking going off. It's got more vaccines they can fucking use, right? And instead of just giving you the vaccines, which is beneficial to everyone, by the way, they go, we'll give you the vaccines, but only if you bend the fuck over for us, okay? Because, fuck you, it's all about us, it's not about our power, right? But the matter of fact is, you don't give a fuck about these people. You absolutely don't give a fuck about these people, and you fucking care about expanding your own fucking power, your own fucking interests, which is fucking disgusting, right? And that's exactly
did I say win-win-win, or did I say win?
No, hold on.
You're a fucking child, dude. Like,
your fucking definition of win-win-win is we get more power, and you have to do what we fucking say if you want to stay alive, all right? And that's not fucking win-win-win for fucking anybody. That's utterly disgusting.
You think that? Hold on. Fuck this. Cage match rules. Do you straight up fucking think? Yeah. Do you fucking think that every single diplomatic fucking venture from the United States? FLS, you talk 30% of the panel. Shut the fuck up. So SDM, do you literally think every single fucking? Do you think every single fucking political venture outside of the United States is like, hey, if you don't let us stick a spiked dildo up your fucking ass, then you can't do anything with us? Is that what you fucking think that it fucking is?
It is.
You're so full of shit, and you're so fucking disconnected from reality. It's absurd. Yeah. Building schools for fucking people, infrastructure projects, anti-corruption laws, fucking training military and security forces. This is all the equivalent of having a giant spiked dildo shoved up your ass. This is the way a fucking child thinks, SDM. And frankly, like, it's kind of fucking sad.
No, because you're doing it from the perspective of like, we'll hold this for you as long as we get to use it, right? It's exactly the same thing we fucking bitch about China doing all the time.
Do you have a specific example that you want to use, or do you just want to use hyperbole? Do you have a specific example?
Of what, sorry?
Of just like us unilaterally sticking it up people's ass to no one's benefit but our own.
How about like all of South America for the past 100 years?
Bananas.
Vietnam.
God. Do I just have to start like Googling history books and sending them to you to get a level of nuance for you?
Do you want to go on like Wikipedia and look at US bank who's in South
We should,
America?
yeah. Let's go to
Okay, this is
Honduras. You know, that was a good
GDP over
place.
the past fucking century and see the improvement in fucking people's lives.
Oh, yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
Hillary.
yeah, that's measure, yeah.
Answer Sneaky's question really quickly. So you said, what if we put the shoe on the other foot, and they were in the position that we're in, right? I would expect them to do exactly what I'm suggesting, because this is how global politics works. Politics is power, right? So anything we do to help these people should also help us. It should come with strings attached. And I think that viewing this is like, you know, as if we're supposed to go around the world, we're supposed to go around the world with like saints and just giving away all the shit that we've worked for, millions of dollars worth of shit with no strings attached, with nothing to benefit us.
Mutually beneficial.
Totally leaving on the table the opportunity.
No new variants.
The opportunity to expand our influence in these regions is ridiculous. That's how. I agree with Hunter. That's how Child sees the world.
Doobie, I also disagree with you because we have to understand other countries have directly helped us into developing our own vaccines. We had multiple research processes.
You think that's not part of the calculation of soft power?
No, Connor, what I'm saying is the ways we leverage power also matters, not just the power itself. Like, we have to understand.
Where do we disagree? Because you keep saying shit that I understand that will be part of the calculus.
But the problem comes is like when we add like strings attached. It's like, why should we add strings attached for a fucking vaccine here? Like, it doesn't make sense to me because the calculus says if we keep them alive, less variants, and it helps our country stay better. It helps the economy globally.
Can you understand? So for instance, like, let me just use a very specific example. That way, maybe we can get past the fucking childish hyperbole. Okay, not you, fucking SDM. All right. So let's say that it's like Nicaragua or someplace that's a fucking collapsed fucking cartel state, right? And we say, hey, as a part of the fucking vaccine program, you have to administer it in this certain way. That way, we make sure that we don't generate variants. And on top of that, you have a corruption problem. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a specialized fucking anti-drug fucking task force that's gonna assist with your law enforcement, and we're gonna train them militarily, and you're gonna buy your fucking weapons from us. Now that benefits us financially. It benefits us politically. We have a fucking social and geopolitical fucking compromise that helps us advance goals in the region, and they get the fucking vaccine for free. And on top of that, you can see the administration of it going out. Please tell me how this is like some super fucking spiked dildo going up the ass of South America.
I'll extend an olive branch. Right? I'm all for a little bit of neoconservatism, right? I've stated this before. We should be going into shitholes and making them better. I agree with that. Okay.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah to Sen and all of the Jewish viewership I have.
The same reason that we should give them the vaccine is the same reason we should go around.
I hope you guys did have tonight was the first night, correct? I think tonight's the first night.
Here's the thing, right? You're dealing with intellectual property here, right? And the fact of the matter is many of these countries already have all of the resources they need to produce this vaccine, and yet they're not able to
second night, apologies.
Right?
I hope you guys are having a wonderful Hanukkah season.
Argentina, right, made a deal.
It's a beautiful holiday. I've had friends allow me to participate in their traditions.
Because they
I love it. I love the food,
now,
the culture. It's beautiful.
On this panel knows how I feel about the vaccine. I think it's fucking shit. But also, I think if you're a 55-year-old with diabetes, you should probably go ahead and get vaccinated.
Funny how people are dying less.
What's that?
Funny how people are dying less the more we vaccinate.
Yeah, but people dying less.
Okay, regardless, it's what I'm saying is right. Is that this is about IP, right? And when you're saying like when has America done this, you referenced it yourself, right? With the banana republics, right? Like we know that American corporate interests align with the State Department in so many fucking ways. They leverage trade organizations. They fought against the European Union to make it illegal for European countries to be able to inform people about what was happening with these bananas were coming from. You're saying like, well, isn't this a win-win situation? There are literally people in Nicaragua right now that their children are being born with stillbirths because of chemicals that are being used by these companies that we knew were deadly to humans, right? And would cause stillbirths and cause all kinds of issues in the fucking 70s, right?
Do you understand there's a difference between pollution and vaccines?
Do I understand that there's a difference between pollution and vaccines? Well, they're two different words. They're not synonyms. Like, what's your point?
I'm saying is like this whole argument of like running down how Pfizer has like caused stillbirths. Like, yeah, that's bad, but it doesn't mean the vaccines are bad. The vaccines have been demonstrated to decrease the likelihood of death, decrease the spread of the virus, and therefore improve the conditions of the people. So
I'm
this
just
is,
saying,
like,
telling
Would you like
people
to
not to get
listen to what I'm
vaccinated because
saying?
some people will
Because
still
that's
die
not
of
what I'm saying.
COVID is like telling
then
people not to wear a seatbelt because some
Like, I'll
people
just
will die in a
set
car
that
accident wearing a
aside
seatbelt.
as idiocy.
Hey,
and
It's fucking
nevertheless,
dumb.
Would you like to extend me an ounce of charitability, though? Do you think that I'm gonna come out onto the fucking panel and I'm gonna be like, oh, hey, do you know what I think is fucking based? I think what's fucking based is like polluting fucking waterways so we can fucking like cause stillbirth children. Like, do you think that I'm just gonna fucking take that, or do you think that I'm gonna have like a more
No,
balanced power approach?
What if it expands America's soft power, right? A little bit of pollution, a little bit of stillbirth.
If my internet holds up, I will. It's been real
it's one
fucking
thing to talk
spotty.
about
That's why I haven't been on for like 3
It's another
days.
thing to talk about research that we purchased from
It's
Germany. right?
staying
'Cause
strong
most
right
of this
now, so as
research
long
was
as it
done in
stays
Germany,
strong,
we purchased
like
it
I
over
could
in
probably
America
do
so
that,
that we
or
could
we could do
finish
some
the
other
phase
stuff
2
too.
and phase
There's
3
new
clinical trials,
Cartnarks out
because
and
clinical
PD
trials
and some
are
other
way
things.
more difficult to get done in America than they are in Germany, right? It's one, but like regardless,
Dude,
right?
can you sum this up in 20 seconds instead of fucking 2 minutes of details that aren't necessarily relevant to your point?
What I'm saying is, relax. What I'm saying is that obviously we are in an unprecedented situation. And if you believe that to be true, and you believe that the vaccine is like this really helpful thing,
Yes,
that's
one
gonna
must love the
combat
professional
this
douche.
virus, right? Then obviously we should have some shit to say about corporations in the State Department trying to strong arm other countries into leveraging as much as they can in order to sell to them, instead of just producing as much as we fucking can, because presumably it's in everyone's interest. I don't agree, but that being said, you need to be consistent in that point. Either the vaccine's amazing and it's going to
Oh,
stop
hell yeah, I
all
gotta
of
see
these
that one.
deaths, right? And or you can, or it's not, right? But if you think it's amazing and everything, then why are we strong arming countries against our own?
I think you're mixing like
second,
7 different people on the panel.
Yeah, I don't think Connor has been inconsistent. I don't think I've been inconsistent. Right? So I agree the vaccine is great. I agree that if these countries had access to it, less people in these countries would die. I want to give them a way to get the vaccine. All I'm saying is if they want it from us, it's going to cost something, right? And if they don't want to pay the cost, if they want their people to die because they're got some hang up about whatever trade we're offering them, whether it's police training or a bank or whatever the fuck it is, that's on them, right?
But
I don't think that like this idea that we just need to get everybody on the world the vaccine, or it's gonna like mutate into the T virus and kill everybody, is like realistic. I think you guys are being super hyperbolic about how dangerous this actually is, and I think that because these people are like aren't morons, right? Presumably, if the United States were to come to them, like Argentina, like you said they're leveraging their military base and the banks or whatever to get the vaccine, because they know it's fucking important, because they don't want their people to die. So they'll take the fucking loan and they'll get the vaccine, right? I don't see this as like a problem. I don't see any. And if you guys keep saying that, hey, this is really important, we should get it to everybody. Everybody in the fucking world needs food, right? So should the United States just go around handing every poor country food for totally with no strings attached, for free?
Well, actually, I like the idea of decommodifying food. Absolutely, I think we should decommodify food.
Hold on. What about water? What about housing? What about fucking?
Yeah, water and housing too. Yeah, decommodify all that shit. I'm with it.
All this shit is important. All this shit kills people. So where do you guys draw the line? If you're saying, hey, this is important, we need to get to people or they're gonna die. There's tons of fucking shit like that that I don't think you'd argue in this way for.
Yeah, you don't give a fuck about it because it's not on the fucking news. So like,
okay, wait,
it will kill them and not kill the
so
panelists.
so
That's
So I think the stuff like kids starving and everything, like, that's absolutely bad. You know how I feel, Connor. But the issue here is like the difference is between a vaccine is that those people get infected and they spread the disease, they develop variants. We see as we develop the variants, like through like the alpha to beta to the delta to like what we're possibly looking at for maybe Omicron, is like these variants are worse because more transmissibility, more faster spreading, less
Arminius,
vaccine resistance.
Roman citizens had free water, free housing, free food, and Rome produced nothing. That is based as fuck. That is so fucking based.
Call it hyperbolic. I think it's like a real concern is that the variants are getting worse if we can't properly deal with this. So the intended goal should be get the vaccine as much as possible. And I feel like putting up these barriers of strings attached like basically inhibits that and increases our likelihood of like causing worse outcomes.
So isn't it true that the flu mutates or changes every year, and this is why we need to adjust the vaccine to account for that? And like it seems like this happens anyway, right? Whether or not people get the vaccine, and it's just something you need to take into account.
Except when the vaccine literally helps deal with COVID.
So if we get a new then the flu vaccine.
Does the flu help with the flu better?
But every year they need to adjust it because there's some new variant that's out there. Right, so it seems like this is something that's going to happen. We got to stop being babies and acknowledge it's going to happen. There's no way to just stop it at the Omicron variant, whatever the fuck it's called right now, and then be like, oh, this is the last one we're going to have if everybody gets vaccinated. No, even if everybody got vaccinated, you can still get the fucking get COVID if you get vaccinated.
But there's a difference.
So variants might develop anyway. So pretending that like we have the ability to just stop all variants from like mutations or whatever going forward is really ridiculous.
Like the whole point is like the amount of variants and like development that occurs. Like the flu doesn't have as many variants because we've been able to counteract most of it at this point. And basically,
it changes every year.
But there's an array of vaccines that we use for the flu. We're not developing a bunch of new ones. There's an array, and they can estimate which flus are going to be coming that year.
They look at earlier reports in other countries, and then they make a vaccine that's tailored to those early reports. I think it's new every year. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think it's new every year.
No, you're
they
correct.
Look at the early reports and they tailor it specifically to how that version of the flu.
I have a virologist in my chat. I'm waiting for an answer.
I also want to say, like, the problem comes here is COVID isn't under control yet. Like in the world, it's getting more under control as we have like 50% of the world having like one dose.
But do they come out with a new flu vaccine every year, or is it just based on an array? Like I thought there was an array of vaccines, and based off of the variant that they had, they would use that.
I agree with this.
Whatever fell within that array. I could be wrong. That's what we were trying to figure out, though.
We have allies. We have prioritization. We have a limited amount of manufacturing. FLS brought up like basically that there are places that could manufacture it themselves. I think you could absolutely license it out to those places. And on top of that, you could do max
GSU had it right.
Manufacturing globally, but at the same time, have a fucking negotiation. And SDM is acting like I want to fucking take like a fucking plastic dildo and stick it up the fucking butt of every fucking brown person world over. And literally, I'm just trying to say, like, let's do some fucking cross-trading for security, anti-terrorism issues, and anti-drug issues. That's literally it. It's not the biggest fucking ask in the goddamn world.
It's the second to last day of No Nut November, and I feel like it's really insensitive that you keep talking about dildos. I think a lot of people would appreciate.
Well, what are you into?
You know, I'm just saying, like, I think people are struggling right now, and you're really not helping in that regard.
Well, you know what? If SDM didn't keep accusing me of trying to sodomize people, then maybe we wouldn't be talking about it so much. But you know, he keeps accusing me of metaphorically sodomizing people.
Connor, I think the first time I spoke to you, you talked about shoving a broomstick up my ass. So you have a history of trying to sodomize people. So
that's true. Yeah.
Well, and the 18th time, the 18th time I met him, he was talking about dudes jerking off in a Discord server. So you know.
No, but you always say eat my whole ass too. This is weird, Connor. You gotta stop.
Wait.
So here's the issue for me, Connor, is like you.
Wait, did you miss the gooning discourse?
Wait, so here's the issue for me, Connor, is like you're literally holding like people's lives and your own country's lives at like.
So what we're supposed to be talking, Ormy, is not even about this. We're supposed to be talking about the politics of distributing the vaccine and whether or not we should be asking for something in return for distributing said vaccine. We aren't even supposed to be getting into the medical efficacy side of this at all, and it's just gone down that road.
Give you the vaccine, and Argentina says, "Oh wow, that sounds like a fucking fair deal. Let's goddamn do it." And we say, "Wow, this is mutually beneficial to fucking both of us. Let's do it." Like what? What the fuck is the problem? Where like literally, like I don't care about No Nut November.
But what if a country says no? What if a country says no and they develop variants?
Why are they fucking prioritizing fucking 20 penguins and fucking cross-trading military and DEA shit over fucking stopping a deadly pandemic? What the fuck are we talking about?
Connor, right? Your ideas are like good, but they shouldn't be connected to other ideas. There should be zero disincentive for them like getting vaccinated, right? Zero, right? Even if it sounds like good, they might be like, this add-on has like some drawbacks, right?
So yeah, they lose fucking 20 penguins. Like, what the fuck?
Right, there we go. Right, so
they'll survive the fucking penguin loss.
So
like,
I agree. I agree. that we should do these things otherwise. Like I said, I'm all for a little bit of neoconservatism, all right? And we should go to places and make them better, even if they don't want to, because, you know, it is good for them, all right?
Right.
But it should not be tied to the vaccine, all right? That this is like something completely independent,
Okay.
right? This is good, for both of us.
I agree with like 90% of what you fucking bleeding hearts are saying. I feel like I'm asking for almost nothing, so I just don't think we're going to agree anytime.
I feel like a government shouldn't be I feel like a government shouldn't be negotiating on behalf of a corporation.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I agree with that, FLS. Yeah, FLS, I agree with you. Like, there's something we agree on.
You guys are being fucking children.
So,
like,
hey, Connor,
one thing
don't
we're
leverage
missing
soft
from this
power during
completely.
a crisis. Yeah,
One thing we're missing from this completely is just the pure logistics of sending these.
Never ever
vaccines
thought I'd
to
see
other
that.
countries.
Never
Like,
thought I'd see. I'd agree
I was
with
looking here
FLS.
just to see, like, how long,
Shit happens
the
once in
shelf
a
life
while,
is for
dude.
these vaccines, even refrigerated and stuff is only a month, right? So most of the time, the issue was that there was vaccines being destroyed because they were going to expire, right? Well, if we make the vaccines for like people to use in our country or in other countries, then they don't get used. Even by the time that happens, if they tried to ship that stuff, especially with all the logistical issues we're already having with other things we need all across the world, I don't think it's really feasible to do this. And if it is, if you do want to go the extra way and like do special type shipments and stuff like that, which we could do, I think the cost of that would be just so astronomical and just so outside of the scope of what the U.S. or even like the other G20 nations could provide. I just don't think it's really feasible. I think the better option would be to try to give these other countries, like I think Fabian was saying, the intellectual property to let them try to create the vaccines themselves, maybe, would be easier, so that way it's on site, it's right there when they need it. I don't think we're going to be physically able to do that.
Still worth something though?
Yes,
like,
I do agree.
Worth,
yeah, I mean, that's
isn't
fine.
that worth like cross trading and 20 penguins? Like, I don't know where we're losing each other.
The ease of access, we're thinking like this is just going to be so easy just to do. These people need the vaccines, boom, we're sending it to them. Like it's not that easy. The logistical side alone is
but even in this example, FLS was saying that Argentina has like organic ability to fucking produce. So literally say, hey guys, send me fucking 20 goddamn penguins and fucking cross train with our fucking SWAT team, and we'll send you the fucking IP for it. Like what the fuck?
Connor,
and like this is a phone call, and you guys are acting like it's a fucking like it's a 6-month negotiation. Like I don't know what
the problem is that IP should have been released to every country anyway, so they could develop their own, even if we weren't going to ship out the vaccine. A lot of these places have facilities where they could create their own vaccines if they had the IP for it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge logistical thing.
Connor, I'll give you something, okay? So we'll do vaccine. I say, and hey, here's a good option. Do that too. And they're like, okay, cool. Move on with their lives.
That's what I said. They shouldn't be connected. I'm okay with that. They just shouldn't be intertwined.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys act like a fucking 40-second phone call is so fucking hard.
Put that idea on the table.
I think.
Wait 1 second. Let me just ask this question, right? Because again, you guys are doing this thing where they absolutely need this, and yada yada. There are plenty of other diseases, viruses we could get that could mutate. Variants that might someday turn into like a fucking zombie virus and kill everybody. So why shouldn't the United States or any nation with the ability to do so?
They should.
We already kind of
should. They should.
Just send out every possible.
We send everything to everybody all the time. Got it, STM. Thanks.
I'm chewing the bullet. I'm biting it. I'm eating the
this
bullet.
STM.
It's not a hard one to do. It's we should give everybody everything. Thanks, STM. I feel like a more informed person.
We should invest in the global south.
Can you call him
okay, cool.
instead of STM?
What? Yeah, sure.
Maybe this is like, I don't know, crazy right wing from the right winger here, but maybe we shouldn't be allowing large corporations to leverage their intellectual property on other nations like they do all the fucking time, and instead we could just have it be open source, because if you really believe the vaccine is that effective, that is literally the quickest decision we could make right now to get more people vaccinated.
We agree, Scott. We agree on things.
I just want to make sure I'm correct, because we're about to close this topic out. So we went from, being reasonable and saying, hey, we should probably give away some vaccines, to now everything should be open. What is this?
I think we're just
Okay.
at the meme stage at this point. We're just kind of
Yeah.
all done.
We have to be.
Well,
We have
the
to.
entire-
There's
It's
no way.
fine. I brought up
There's
penguins
no
first.
way
It's my
The
fault.
biggest.
No,
Okay.
Doobie is branching into our overarching ideology to see if we can justify it within our like ethical systems, right? And I can't.
So-
I have to say the only thing that matters is Biggs and Sneaky Debate Man, the BSDM community. I support it.
so I want to be clear, but so Fabian, I like half agree with you. I'm okay with it right now because the corporations are American, so that makes it a little easier for me to swallow. But I'd be totally fine with Pfizer or any of these massive pharmaceutical corporations being nationalized.
Ooh.
I don't need more fascism as
No.
the solution.
So the
Like, I'm
biggest,
good.
Yeah,
the
I
biggest
agree
issue
with
from the
Doobie and
start.
then ending on a high note. It's super fun for me.
I nationalize. I love
Halo
it.
Infinite.
I'm loving it.
Why should we leave the development of vaccines to save American lives in the hands of corporations?
The problem, Doobie, that we have now is they're getting the pharmaceutical companies are getting the best of both worlds.
That's why
They're
we
getting-
support Medicare for all.
They're getting the protection and the immunity, and they're getting the money from the government without any real responsibility.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to push this out. That's the whole problem from the start of this whole thing. If we were going to do it in the right way, and the government was going to take action and lead the way, they needed to make that part of the stipulation to these companies would be like, we're going to pay you this X amount of money, and then we're going to own the patent, or then we're going to be able to decide what we do with it. Because I think the whole problem, like you said, like it's just you can't get the best of both worlds like that. They're just going to use the system, like Fabian was saying earlier. They're just going to use it to extort as much value as they can, and they don't give a shit about anybody else. I don't think anybody really, and I mean, aside from the few bleeding hearts that we have here on the panel, like Sneaky Debate Man, that actually care about people, right? Most people don't care about anybody, like he said earlier. Until it happens to you in your life, it's out of sight, out of mind. Whether that's
I deeply care about
actually
people. I want to be free.
The
Right,
issue
yeah, I
for me
understand.
with this rhetoric is like, I understand where you're coming from. Like, we understand like corporations leveraging influence in order to.
That is so
better
fucking
use
great to hear, Mike.
The problem
Thank you.
that comes is like,
That's
you have
fucking
to Show
awesome.
me how like we could talk about that as an aspect. You have to show me how that is having a detrimental effect on the development of the vaccine, and yet there hasn't been really anything shown.
I was just saying that if the government had stipulated that from the start, then the government could have then said, hey, to all these countries, here's the intellectual property, we're going to share it. The problem now is it's intertwined with these corporations who are in no way going to try to let that go because they have a profit motive for that, right? So the government should have done that from the start. That would have been the more proper way to do it. Maybe they couldn't do it. Maybe they weren't going to bite on that. I don't know what the negotiations were, but to me that seemed like the better route from the start.
I'm trying to remember because I've read bits and pieces about Pfizer and different shit, and there was some aspect of like they were trying to get the information on the vaccine process or anything, and it's like the patent or something, and basically the problem that comes with that is it's like 20,000 pages, and it's like it would take years just to sort through all that data. And then there's also like the aspect of like in terms of IP, like I'm fine with that. Like I want it to be more open source because I think having more open source patents is like a good thing. It's complicated because it's like I feels like we're kind of like gently poking at possible things, but we're not like landing on anything conclusive.
Okay. Inconclusivity. I love it. That's the way to end the topic. Let's move on. Thank you all for being here. To my audience, right? Thank you all for being here. We're going to continue on. We're going to have another topic for you. But if you've been enjoying this, right, you just land on this page, hit that follow button right now and make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. Just 6 nights a week. We have this content for you constantly. So if you're enjoying this, or you're intrigued, or you're annoyed, especially if you're annoyed, right? Because we got more of that for you. Arguments. That's the thing we can always provide here. But hit that follow button right now if you haven't done so yet. Also, !social in chat for our social media. Follow us on Twitter for channel updates. Jump into our Discord. This is where we have all our conversations. Everything takes place on our Discord. Once you be a part of the community that we're building there, jump on in and be a part of that. Thank you so much. And then finally, our YouTube. YouTube's where you find the bots. You find the bots, you won't find them here. They live over there. So go to our YouTube, check them out. And you can support the channel through there as well, through YouTube membership. All right. We're going to go to our next topic. and that is in Illinois. A house owner was going to be fined because she painted her home in a rainbow pattern. The city said she was in violation of an ordinance that required all houses to be in a similar color. Eventually, though, they backed down. Should the government be allowed to, in any way, interfere with the homeowner's decisions outside the realm of public safety? Should a homeowner be allowed to make changes that will lower the property values of other houses in their neighborhood? Should they be allowed to have offensive messaging on their home? So this is actually an old story. This is some, I forget where it was, but like a house. It looked pretty, like just rainbow color, and the city tried to interfere. But this got me thinking of all kinds of other ways in which city governments interfere with your house. I mean, like, if you are the sovereign of your own, that's your domain. Why can't you do what you want with it? And there's lots of places we can take this, right? And does it matter? Does it matter if, as long as, like, you know, you aren't like starting like you didn't like have an oil spill on your lawn, right? And the toxic fumes are like wafting into someone else's home and hurting them. As long as you haven't done that, shouldn't you be able to do like what you want? That's your property, right? So we'll go down the line with opening statements. Thank you, GSU Gamut, please.
Yeah, so okay. I had to make sure my mic was. But so when we say government, it's good that you called out local government. I am a big supporter of power like this being as local to the community as possible. I do think there could be some reasonable restrictions. I don't know if I would support them banning this house particularly, but I can't. There are things outside of. I think the question specifically asked about public safety. There's something I'm pretty sure I can think of outside of public safety. I can't think of it offhand right now, but this example would not be one of those. I do think homeowners should have the right. I think outside of some sort of local HOA or something that's restricting you, then I don't see why the city government would have a say in this. So I think this is that should be even more local than the city government. It should be at the HOA level. So people will be allowed to have offensive messaging on their home. If there's no HOA against it, I guess we don't have an apparatus to police that. But this is why all of my friends that tell me to invest in real estate, this is why I don't. This is why I buy stocks, because I would have to deal with stuff like this and people devaluing houses. So, yeah.
God.
Yeah, man, GSU, I was going to bring up the HOAs. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, your property is your property. Do whatever the hell you want with it. If you want to paint your house some gauche rainbow, like, that's on you. Apparently, most of the people in the community actually liked it, even though the fucking nanny state wanted to come in and, like, be pissy about it, right? In terms of offensive messaging, I don't care what you put on your house. Put anything you want on your house, right? I mean, if your property ends up getting burned and you have to, you know, that might be an issue for you, and that sucks, and they should prosecute people for doing that. But, like, there's a certain level of risk from a certain amount of offensive shit you put on your house. But at the end of the day, like, zoning laws, building codes, all of this shit is fucking stupid, right? Like, it easily can be handled by insurance companies and HOAs. There's no reason for the government to get involved in this in any way, shape, or form. If you want to build a pool with no railing that's slippery as fucking dangerous, well, you know what? Your fucking property insurance can deal with that shit. And they can laugh at you and tell you you're dumb and charge you an extra fucking $80 a month for building some stupid shit until you build some shit on your property that's not going to hurt anybody. There's no reason whatsoever for the government to be involved in this in any way, shape, form, or capacity.
Well, you've escalated this. Of course you did. We're going to rely on Scott to do that.
Libertarians eating Tide Pods because they value freedom over safety.
So we'll get into it. I just want to say quickly how that GSU Gambit is gone. Fuck that guy. I mean, honestly, right? GSU Gambit? Screw that guy. We agree? We all agree on this one?
He's my favorite.
Right? No.
He's the only person that would team up on Vosh with me. I'm cool with them.
Let's go to counterpoints.
No, fuck this. Everybody can kind of make decisions on at their city level in order to see whether or not they want to enforce these zoning laws and all that kind of stuff. And it can be a consultation when you purchase your property on whether or not they want to do it. So no, I'm completely okay with the city enforcing ordinances as long as those ordinances actually exist. And what I would say is you got to be careful, because I basically dealt with a similar thing in my city. If you're getting bullied by your city, then demand that they show you the ordinance, because oftentimes they're trying to post hoc justify this bullshit, and if there's not something explicit on the books, then you could basically tell them to go fuck themselves, and they can't do shit about it because they literally can't pass an ordinance and then have you do it post hoc as long as the issue is documented. So basically, no, the city level is perfectly fine for what we're talking about here. And I think the main thing that we have to be aware of is just don't let the fucking city bully you. And also fuck that ANCAP shit, basically. So, yeah.
Jason, please.
So I might have a little bit of a different take than some other people, but like, I don't mind the idea of HOAs if you choose to live in an HOA and that's what you want to do. And, you know it ahead of time when you move into the place, you're signing up for it. And you got to live by those rules and regs. Hey, you signed up for that shit. Like, own it, Otherwise, move the fuck out. You knew. Or become a member of the HOA and start facilitating the change that you want to see, instead of sitting on your ass and bitching about the fact that they don't like what you're doing. Where it comes to the city and city ordinances, they have a responsibility, on some level to maintain an aesthetic, because there are property values affected by that. However, I think that a lot of that could be solved outside of city ordinances and could just be solved through litigation. There is opportunity for that. If they can prove that what somebody put on their house actually lowered the property value of my house when I went to sell it, sure, why not? There's nothing wrong with that. I do think that there can be some little gatekeeperisms with all of these, where like there are people that may be disadvantaged, maybe they're elderly, maybe they're disabled and aren't able to keep up on their properties the way that people would like. So, I think there's a lot that has to be taken into consideration with this shit. Like, I don't think it's a clear black and white thing. I think it's contextual. So if the city ordinances can cater to those things, and if the HOAs can cater to those things, then yeah, fine, so be it. If they don't, then people need to get involved and do something to make a change there. But I think it ultimately revolves around the people getting involved locally on their local level, whether that's HOA, whether that's your city council, shit like that, to make the changes that you want to see there. If you're disengaged and disinvolved, well, that's your fault.
I can answer for Doobie. He loves power.
I do love power. That is true. So yeah, I actually agree with everything Connor said. I think that if you want to paint your house, rainbow, and it makes the neighborhood look like shit, or you don't want to take care of your lawn, or you want to have like 10 cars sitting out in your grass, and it drives down the property prices in the city, well, fuck you. You shouldn't be there if you can't keep your shit in order in what's the word I'm looking for? Compliance. There we go. In compliance with whatever the ordinances are in the city. If you don't like the ordinances, get them changed. That you guys like democracy so much. Go do democracy and get it changed. Fuck it.
Okay. All right. Wordy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I looked into that specific instance. So it seems to me the confusion was the city accidentally enforcing like an ordinance, assuming that it was a new property whenever she was like already owning the property. So like the whole confusion there, like it was able to be quickly resolved. That's the article I linked earlier. And I think we have to understand, even if the HOA is like on a local level, it's still enforced by state regulations. So there's still some kind of like interacting systems that kind of like develop like what kind of policies you're going to have, what kind of regulations you're going to have generally, while there's going to be some level of variance within the different HOAs, right? And I think the issue that comes with like a lacking regulation, even if you are like opposed to like government overreach, right? We have to understand is like when we don't have like regulation on some level, we see the consequences like in Florida, where we have like an entire like different like a condo collapse. And the issue that comes is like that's an extreme example, but but having regulation doesn't necessarily produce worse outcomes. It makes better outcomes because they're like healthier standards. They make better property values. Like all these like relationships like, occur better. So like basically is I think the issue then comes is less of kind of their control. It's more of like how much you can interact with them. So it's like more transparency would probably be a better thing, and more like probably degree of freedom you could have in the HOA. Like if you're not going to cut the grass like a certain length. Like I had this dude who lives in my neighborhood, who's my dad's best friend, who was like an asshole about it. He's like, you're doing this wrong, doing this. He does like the fake tickets and everything. And like ultimately we have to come down to is like how people are just going to be like bitches about it.
Okay. Biggs.
Yeah, so as much as I wish we could do, just everybody can do whatever they want on their property. I think there's obviously some problems to that. One thing I want to say is I'm pretty sure that no matter where you purchase a house, if there are any type of rules or anything like that, as like specifically to like aesthetics or what you can and can't have on your property, like I'm pretty sure that's known to the buyer. So I think upon that purchase, you're agreeing to all those terms. So even from a libertarian perspective, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I don't think there's anything like if you're coming in there and then you all of a sudden want to change your mind and do all these things to it. Like you signed this contract when you purchased this home, agreeing to all these things. So I think that's perfectly fine. But what I do have a problem with is when governments want to go beyond what's reasonable. So we see like obviously like Wardy brought up the case in Florida. I think that was a case where the government went the opposite way of where they needed to go as far as like the regulations and stuff for the building codes and whatnot. But then we have states like California that go the complete opposite and make you do like a million different ground soil studies to build a fucking shed in your backyard. So I think it's kind of like a balancing game of where we find that happy medium. And I think that if you want to live in a place where you have more freedom, live out in the country where people don't give a shit about what you do on your property. I mean, that's the best option. If you have to live in a city somewhere, know what you're buying, know what what your requirements, what your obligations are, and just go from there. I don't have any sympathy for anybody that gets in trouble for doing something drastic because they signed up for that. On the other hand, if somebody is the government oversteps after the fact, maybe then there might be a case for that being unreasonable as well.
Boom.
So I will say I'm not really one for robust individualism. Okay, I'm a normie. Okay, I'm a hardcore normcore over here. Okay, I love being fucking normal. When I see shit like this, I just think, man, you're just stop being so fucking weird. Like, I know it's your right and everything, but it's just a bit weird, right? Like it's fine that you want to do that, but it is a bit weird, right? I'm an anti-extremist, right? I'm extremely against extremism. I don't like things that are weird. They're just like too out there.
It's the Britbonger version of layman.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I'm a layman. So
Connor, you didn't even laugh when said.
So
it's okay because I didn't know which one you meant.
Layman is in the Canadian guy.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense, right? I'm okay with these like home associations and like local councils being like, hey, you can't have your house like that, but only if like all the neighbors are like, your house is fucking ugly, man. It's dragging all our house prices down. Can you not have a weird, ugly house, please? But like in this case, everyone was fine with it. So like, I don't know, have your fucking ugly house. I don't care, you fucking widow.
Oh, make a home union, okay?
Yeah. So, what about? So, yeah, everyone was happy with this particular home, but what if when people simply aren't happy, right? Yeah.
Normalcy prevails.
Normalcy prevails.
It's not their problem.
Normcore.
What if it's a house with a bunch of Nazi flags painted all over it?
Well,
Yeah,
technically, you also.
You want to
don't
engage?
Actually,
we can engage with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
so,
Go
I mean,
ahead.
I actually have a nice little story for this. I was walking my kids through my mother's neighborhood over Thanksgiving because, they eat and you want to put them out and it doesn't work unless you give them a nice little fucking stroller ride through the neighborhood. Then they'll finally pass out. And I saw multiple houses with Black Lives Matter signs with the fist. To me, that's an offensive hate symbol of communism. That offends me. I think it's fucking disgusting, and anybody that puts that symbol out on their front yard is probably an asshole.
Yeah, but
or at the very least, doesn't know what the fuck they're
Has Black
advocating.
Lives Matter killed like 6 million Jews?
Yeah, I was gonna say, are they genocidal?
Well, they've certainly killed more people in America this last 2 years.
Do not invoke.
Have you ever heard of
wait, this is
Do not
right?
invoke
So to me, that's a hate symbol.
Don't
But
do
to
this.
some
Please
people,
don't do
that's to me. I mean, that's why George Orwell had to leave Spain because
I mean,
the
I didn't
fucking-
realize it was hateful
the
to fight for
communist
freedom.
fucking
Fuck
system was
me.
killing people, right?
It was the
That symbol has a lot of hate and a lot of death and a lot of genocide behind it.
Yeah.
But at the
so
same
let's-
time, I understand that to that person, it means whatever the fuck they want it to mean. and they have the freedom and the liberty to put up whatever hateful symbol they want. So when I see that, I keep walking because that's their fucking
Do you
property.
understand this
Before you stop, hold on. Before you stop, we need to know if you're memeing. We need to know if you're memeing or not.
No, he's
No,
not.
he's not.
He's not.
I don't think he's.
I actually
I
agree
do think
with
the
him.
Black Lives
I
Matter
agree with
is hate.
Fabian on this one. I think that it's I don't agree with it personally, right? But if somebody wants to put something that's like just a symbol of a shape of whatever, like that's not obscene to me in the sense of like something that was actually obscene, like a murder scene or like graphic pornographic content. Like those are the type of things that we already have laws for. And I think that's what we should kind of like stick towards. If somebody wants to fly a Nazi flag outside their house, what do you really have to say about that as far as like what can legally be done about it?
No,
right?
I'm talking about actually painting the whole house as a Nazi flag. I'm talking about painting the whole house. The whole house is just Nazi'd up. It's painted with Nazi flags on the house, right?
If someone paints the whole house with Nazi symbols, I'm going to knock on their door and we'll be like, hey, man, it looks like another Black Lives Matter activist painted your house. Would you, to try and make a news story like they did a bunch, would you like me to help you paint your house? Because I find it extremely unlikely
And if
that
they
there's
said
gonna be
no?
an actual house where someone paints their house with a bunch of Nazi.
Somebody
like,
painted
you're
their
talking
house
about
as a
one in
fucking
million.
as a rainbow flag, right?
Wait, let's go
Somebody
full
painted their
meme
house
here.
as a pride
We're
flag.
not allowed to paint your flag.
So why
You know what I
not?
mean? Like the guy probably needs someone to help him paint his house. Like somebody tried to make a news story.
Okay,
about painting Nazi
but
stuff
let's
on his
say he
house.
says no.
Y'all are finna
If he says
continue
no, then I know never to hang out with that piece of shit. And then we're good. Like, I don't need the government to come in and fucking try and drive these fucking hateful people underground.
So
Do
what
whatever the fuck
happens
you want
when
with your property?
What happens when your property value tanks because of what they're doing on their property?
Then you should have bought a fucking house in a goddamn HOA or something.
Then you sue them and you have to prove that it caused that. And I think in that case you would.
Yeah,
win that
probably
lawsuit.
actually, because that's a negative externality, right? Like it's
Yes.
no different. It's no different
My
than let's
issue
say
is-
them building a condo in front of your mountain view, right? Like you can usually sue for those things because it's a negative externality where deeply, like you weren't involved in the contract between the buyer and the seller, right? You were a third party and you
That's
were
the
hurt.
non-aggression principle.
So let's.
So
Right,
to
you
that
were
end,
hurt,
are you
like-
saying
like
that
you
you'd
could
sue
play that.
BLM people for having BLM flags?
I'm sorry. One more time.
Are you saying then that you would sue BLM people for having BLM flags if it lowered your property value?
If it lowered my property value, yeah, probably.
If you could
Wait.
prove that, then sure.
Wait.
If I could prove that, yeah, but probably wouldn't because it's socially
wouldn't be able to,
acceptable,
yeah.
even though it's personally offensive.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think there are like degrees of like subjectivity here when we compare like the Nazi flag or the Confederate flag to the BLM flag?
Absolutely. Some people are going to be deeply offended. Some people aren't going to be offended at all.
But like social standards, we understand like the BLM flag and its connections, like versus
Well,
like.
right. Obviously, that's why I saw 3 or 4 of them in the neighborhood, and I didn't see a single fucking Nazi flag in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
like,
because we understand Nazis are like not even comparable in this area. It doesn't even make like sense to make comparisons here.
Well,
It feels a little
the
disingenuous.
society that we have doesn't realize that the commies are just as bad as Nazis.
Okay, but if you start making cultural Marxism argument, let's not.
I mean, we can talk
Yeah,
about
but-
the prison papers and and stuff like that. Cultural Marxism is an academic
Yeah,
term.
y'all
If you
can
want me to
follow-
fucking hint at
Yeah,
at
so
them
wait,
for the
Smithsonian
memes?
sense.
Well, no, wait. Hey, just to let everybody know, if y'all want to hear that, Wordy and Fabian are going to continue at 11:30 once this panel is
Hey,
done.
I didn't say that.
I have to go work on my paper. We can have a debate later. I just feel like after this.
No,
we're gonna,
I'm
like,
just
take a
saying that.
break.
If I wanted to debate you, I would debate you on whether or not ANCAPs
I'm
are
just trying to
anarchists.
deflect
Yeah,
from y'all
that's
taking
fine.
the
Yeah,
argument.
That's
yeah.
another
No,
time,
but
but that's
being-
something else.
Yeah.
But to get back on topic though, like as a black person in the South, we see Confederate flags everywhere, all over houses. So the concept of offensive messages hanging from houses is literally like a normalcy. So
too.
I don't support that. I don't support people throwing Nazi flags up either. I don't think BLM is comparable. I think that's hilarious that has been made. But even though I'm not really pro BLM, but yeah, I think that we can see hateful symbols displayed all across houses all over the southern part of this country. So the concept that this is something that we could talk about in theory, it's actually here. It's actually real. So
Exactly.
Well, let's move off. I don't think any of us believe in government regulation here, unless you have direct financial effect. But What's interesting is like,
is that true?
Yeah, I was about to say, I believe like a motherfucker in the state. Are you kidding me?
Well, like in terms of like regulating what you can like cover on your property.
No, I don't.
No, I think there should be.
Like, what's
yeah.
viewable from the what's viewable from the public. I think the city, and like particularly in like close-in suburbs, like if you're on 10 acres by yourself and you got your fucking furry like Nazi Confederate flag or whatever, like who gives a shit? But if you're like in a fucking suburb that's like 1/8 acre lots and everybody else can see your shit, yeah, absolutely, I think they should be regulated, and not just by the HOA, but I think the municipality could make regulations about that. And then I think there's something to be said for like grandfathering in. So for instance, you can check this out. I used to work in a city called Mount Dora. There's something called the Van Gogh House. They painted it. One of their children had autism, so they painted their house like the Van Gogh Starry Night things. And so this helped the kid. Number one, it helped the kid get home, and then number two, people could direct the kid home. So that was like really cool. Well, the city tried to give them a bunch of shit about it, claiming that the reason why I was talking about ordinances is you want to double check it. They claimed that there was an ordinance that prohibited it, and it was bullshit. The city was just making shit up in order to get rid of what they viewed as an eyesore, despite the community disproportionately actually liking the home a lot. So I think there's absolutely like potentials for abuse of power, and I think that like individual citizens need to be wary of that. But as far as like if it's viewable to the public, absolutely municipalities can make regulations for this shit.
What if it was, you know, you've seen on the sides of like buses, right? Buses have like those latex wraps, right? What if you like latex wrap your house with porn, like with a pornographic scene, right? Like,
but there are already laws against that,
right? Exactly. And you were right next to a school, right? Like you did that. It's your home. It's on your property. Like no one is not touching anyone, right? No one's been assaulted, but like, do we not want to do anything about that?
But that's different because you're already violating all sorts of other laws by doing that. You know.
Exactly. I think the thing here is that we need to make a distinction between what we want, right, and then what the reality of the situation is, right? Because when you talk about latex wrapping your house with pornographic material, right, like it's just waifu cartoons of nothing but Ahigo faces, right, like right next to a fucking school, and they're all lolly, right? Like it's just
lolly. It's like it's.
Cross their eyes cross their eyes and
the fact of the matter, the fact of the matter is, right? So the fact of the matter is if we lived in a society where municipalities weren't regulating this, insurance companies, HOAs, and a lot of other things would be, right?
When did you start believing in corporations?
I'm sorry, what?
When did you start believing in big corporations, insurance companies?
Well, I mean, insurance companies don't have to be large corporations, right? And also, as an I don't believe in corporations at all. I believe in companies, right? I think limited liability is fucked up, and it's just a way that the state allows corporate people at the top to make money and gut their own fucking employee force and tank their company and pump and dump stocks.
Yeah, I was meaning. Just keep going.
Yeah, but the thing is that like if you lived in a society where municipalities weren't making these laws, there would be other financial regulations that would be made. You'd see more HOAs. You'd see HOAs that were like a lot softer, right?
Can I tell you exactly why I'm not an ANCAP? And this is pertinent to your example.
Sure.
So basically, like, I've worked with insurance companies. Insurance companies don't want to take on fucking risk. They'll literally stop writing in certain areas. And there's certain areas of the country that are literally not writable. Hold on.
It's called.
Buddy, I'm still talking. You talk for a long time. I want to talk for a long time. Just fair is fair, all right? So basically what I wanted to say is like there are certain areas of this country that are literally not writable. So while
that's
I
not
can
true.
see
It's called excess and surplus.
Oh my god. Yeah. So can I finish the fucking point? So basically like there are places in this fucking country that are literally not fucking writable by a private institution because they don't want to take on the fucking risk, and as a result, the only people who can mandate that anybody covers anything is the fucking state. So that's where you can try to explain this shit to me, but basically like saying like, oh yeah, you can get insurance, it's just gonna be $10,000 a month or no coverage at all. Like that's not exactly the W that I'm fucking looking for.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of problems with what you're saying. Number one, there's excess and surplus private insurance, right? So there's insurance that specializes in the quote unwritable insurance. Number two, right? You're not going to build a school next to a situation that doesn't already have that isn't already in the market in some capacity in that way, right? Like you're not going to build a school next to a neighborhood where someone could latex wrap their shit, right? So like a lot of these problems go away.
What about neighborhoods that get older and they lose HOAs and city ordinances start to become more lax because they're not necessarily high income areas anymore? There's still schools in those areas. There's still schools in those areas.
That's when you deal with negative externalities and arbitration or court.
You just proved. Wait. Hold on. He just proved how optimistic you have to be to believe in something like ANCAP. Like he's so optimistic that it's impossible for a school to be in a neighborhood where somebody would do. This is literally like brain cancer.
Like this is wait. This is also the issue.
This is brain cancer because you don't understand it.
Wait. This is also the issue. When you talked about like those companies, insurance companies that specialize, you never said that they wouldn't be high premiums. The same issue that Connor pointed out. Like you never actually attacked that point. And
No. Excess.
No, wait. I'm talking right now. Okay. So basically, what we
thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Well, you see, I'm non-binary, so yeah. So basically, what we have to understand is like insurance companies, like these issues exist regardless of government intervention, and so we use government intervention to offset like those for example, like if a home already exists and it's already beside a school, and then the new homeowner decides to do that, how do you deal with that? And then the insurance company says, "Fuck this! I'm not going to cover this area because it has like some fucking asshole or something." Like this is the problem: is you're assuming like in the process of developing areas, but you also have to understand already existing areas, like circumstances change, assholes move in, move out.
Yeah, the market changes, right? People move.
So just move.
Yeah, I mean that's just one solution. Another solution is arbitration. Another solution is suing someone because, like I said, through negative externality, right? Like if I'm a school and I have a private school, and then someone latex wraps their fucking house with lolly porn, I'm probably going to sue them, and I'm probably going to win. That's an easy case to win. We don't need the state to intervene in this world.
Well, the state is intervening through the courts. That's what the courts are. The courts are an extension of the state.
Externality.
So what you're telling me is you have to use the state to sue them?
No, I said arbitration.
Arbitration through the state, which enforces that policy.
Wait, so what if you're broke as fuck and you can't afford to?
Somebody has to enforce the order once you turn into arbitration.
Like explaining anarcho-capitalism, but there's like rights enforcement agencies. There's a lot of other.
Literally, you're just recreating the state.
Yeah.
Says the guy who wants to use the fucking state.
He's recreating the state and selling it out to the lowest bidder.
I'd like to correct something really quickly because you said that Connor was incorrect when he said that there are certain areas of the country that just can't be insured. You're just flat out wrong, right? Excess and surplus lines companies aren't going to take every fucking risk. In fact, here in California, the state had to get involved and mandate that any property insurance company that does business in the state needs to be part of the California Fair.
By the way, if you guys didn't know, the reason that Doobie doesn't put himself on camera is because he is a very successful insurance agent. This is actually something he really knows about.
This is mandated by the state, and these policies are shit. They're expensive as fuck, and they only cover fire. They don't cover anything else, right? So, yeah, there are situations where the risk is too great and the state needs to intervene, or these people will just not have coverage, so just not have protection because no private insurance company is going to want to touch it otherwise.
And why are those areas so shitty to begin with?
Well, here's a real example.
Poor fucking them.
Wait, no. It's brush. Literally brush.
Well, here's an example.
Right. Because the California does a terrible job.
No, that's ridiculous. No,
they don't sweep their forests enough.
Hold on. There's not even the presence of any fucking trees is toxic to an insurance company. They don't want trees around your house, right? So if there's a forest a mile away, a lot of companies aren't going to write that shit. Right, because they know that if that
like Trump said, we need to sweep our forests. That'll fix everything.
We don't even have to get into the details.
They do the same shit to houses that are built along the coast. Sometimes the state does need to intervene, so you can't just have people being able to do any fucking thing they want. And
the state does not.
Basically, should cities or municipalities or the state in some sense, whether on whatever level, be able to intervene if you fucking put up stupid shit on your house?
Have you ever heard of like price elasticity? Like you've heard of that shit, right?
Obviously.
Okay, so there's there's like products and services that people have to get in order to fucking protect themselves, and as a result, there's like you can be fucking strong-armed by corporations. Or, like, I'm sorry for taking
Price
this to
elasticity is the state getting involved, right? And pushing
Are
a
you
price for
serious?
price scaling.
Price
Almost
elasticity
all of
exists.
The market does that on
You
its
didn't let me
own.
finish.
Plenty.
You didn't let me
What the
finish.
fuck?
You didn't let me finish.
Probably because
You didn't let me
fucking
finish.
wrong.
You didn't let me finish. I said in most instances, right, price elasticity is caused by governmental policy anyways,
No.
right? Because the supply and demand equation would meet in the middle where it's supposed to anyways. Price elasticity ends when you have marginal social utility, when you have other factors, right, that then start to move this product, right? You end up with price elasticity from it moving because there's some type of state intervention almost all of the time. Obviously, this happens
wrong.
wrong.
Wait.
Supplier
I just
induced
wanna ask you-
demand. Like,
Wait, Fabian.
Yes.
Fabian, is the Earth flat?
Really? Obviously,
Yeah.
the Earth is not fucking flat. Like, we knew this.
Okay,
Like,
gotcha.
the ancient
I'm trying
Greeks
to
knew
see-
this.
Okay,
No,
so,
I'm just
so this is the
trying to see how
frustration
far
here,
this goes.
FOS. Okay, you're
It's a
proposing
cube,
that
by the way.
state
It's a
intervening-
cube.
No, like these like disproportionate and
Velociraptor.
like in terms of like actual like price elasticity, like homes, healthcare, like these fundamental things that people have to get, and there's like a lack of marketability. You fundamentally have the unequal like Pareto distribution. Like these things exist regardless of state intervention, and then the problem that comes is not that the state intervenes. It's
Lord
about how they
Kelmar,
intervene.
what's up, bro? How you doing,
If
man?
you have better regulations that helps like fix these issues in price elasticity, it helps improve like home ownership. Like that's the problem. It's not necessarily state intervention in the first place. It's about how they intervene.
And I didn't give a
And they
bump to
always
stun it
intervene
on
by
either. Hey,
stealing
stun it
from
on
the
right
wealth
there.
of the nation.
So, if I may understand
That's
your point,
nothing.
Fabian.
That's not useful here.
If I may understand your point, Fabian, so you think you should be able to plastic wrap your house in porn, and then other people should be able to.
Shit, I didn't give a bump to Lucy either.
The way you
Boom.
present your house
I owe you all
causes, right?
booms. Boom.
Exactly.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
You do
boom.
ridiculous shit, you ought to be able to sue it. I just don't need
Right.
the state to intervene in this.
Right,
I think I got 'em all
so
in.
You think that you should be able to do whatever you want with your house, and then people would have to prove that like your house is affecting them,
Yes.
right? Do you not see
What if
how
they
that
don't
could?
want to be a part of arbitration?
Well, yeah. Do you see how this like
But
could
they
like
don't have money.
yeah, this could be like a very biased system. So like let's say I
Mm-hmm.
live right next to a school. I wrap my house in loads of fucking pornography with pornography all over my house.
Mm-hmm.
And then
He's a
it,
leftist,
you know,
so you know he'll do it.
yeah, I will. I
Oh,
actually hate
hell
pornography, but
yeah.
still. Anyway,
I do my best, not on.
so I do that, but I'm really rich. I'm super fucking rich. I'm a capitalist. I sold the vaccines and it made me a lot of money. So I'm super fucking rich. So they take me to court, but I got this fucking crank team of lawyers, right? And I win the case. And now I get to keep the porn. I get to keep the porn next to the school. Is that not a problem? No?
Yeah, well, it's not I mean, like, sure, it's feasible, it's possible, right? But there's all kinds of governmental breakdowns where fucked up shit happens because of the wealthy, right? I mean, like, yes, you can take something to its extreme and say, like, yes, this is a possible negative thing. This is why I'm not arguing for a utopic situation here, but one of the things is that arbitration firms are designed very differently from the state, because the state almost always is in favor of the large wealthy individuals, whereas arbitration, while you may have better lawyers in this situation, number one, both individuals likely have lawyers on retainer through their rights enforcement agency, and number two, what is also occurring is that the arbitration firm stands to make more money by leveraging their bias towards the individual
I own
with
the
less money.
arbitration company.
Okay, so you own the arbitration
I
company.
own the arbitration company.
How are you owning the arbitration company
Well,
and
I'm
you're
a
the
CEO.
Because you
property?
create a company to fill a need. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the
Okay,
whole
well then,
supply and
then
demand
I'm
I need to live somewhere. I'm an
right. Well, then
arbitration
I'm not
owner.
using. If I'm a school,
need
I'm
to
not
live
using
somewhere.
a fucking arbitration company owned by my neighbors.
Well, no, but I'm gonna
Why
put my
not?
arbitration
Like, that's
company.
how it works already.
No, that's
Yeah,
not
why
how.
do you
Like,
get
I
to
wouldn't
do-
do that.
Why you get to monopolize?
I don't think
Yeah,
there
why
would
you
only
get
be
to
one-
pick
there
the
wouldn't be
arbitration
just
company?
one
There isn't a
arbitration.
monopoly. There's multiple arbitration
Yeah,
companies.
but then
and
most
I'm not.
arbitration companies want to outcompete each other, and then they can eventually kick each other out of the market. Like,
Yeah, except monopolistic tendencies are almost always supported by the state. Free market capitalism doesn't
was
support
always the
monopolistic
state
free
all
tendencies.
along.
market capitalism recreates monopolies. We've seen this in the early 20th and the late 19th.
That's not free
century.
market capitalism in any way,
Answer
shape, or
the-
form.
answer the-
It wasn't real capitalism.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
You're not getting
Yeah.
explained now. That's just a ludicrous,
You did the meme.
ahistorical.
Fabian,
Good one, Connie. Nice meme, Connie.
actually, Fabian, I feel like we're dogpiling you, Fabian, so I feel bad. but I also feel like you're
This
intelligent
point
enough.
is ridiculous.
I feel like you're intelligent enough to deal with it, so I don't feel that bad.
It's like I could just agree with you all, like, and then we could just move on.
that's
But
boring.
everyone agreed, so I'm
No,
like,
that's
fuck it,
bullshit.
like, let's throw in some extra shit.
No, that's dumb. But you said earlier that the house is their property and they should be able to do whatever the fuck they want with it, right?
Right.
And I can understand that sentiment. But I'm curious, like, how far you take that. Not just with a house, like with other forms of property. Like, let's say I purchased a dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that because this dog is my property, I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want with it?
I think you're getting into the realm of like animal rights, right? Like, what rights
do
does an
animals have
animal have?
rights? Yeah.
Yeah,
well, if
this is
my
actually
property
like
illegally,
legitimately,
The animal,
like, I
animal is
won't
gonna
even.
employ a rights
like,
enforcement agency. He's going to get
Right.
a dog rights enforcement agency.
Right. This is like literally one of the things that I do actually and honestly struggle with. Right. It's like, where do we draw the lines of rights for animal rights? In situations like that, how do we engage with that in the market? Like, it is not something that I personally have a solution for, but the beautiful thing about anarcho-capitalism, unlike central planners, is all of you guys just go, oh, well, we'll vote and we'll fix it. And then we say, like, there's a multitude of people that could be able to come up with solutions in this scenario. It is, without a doubt, the one thing that I do struggle with is how do we engage in that? I mean, I could theorize that we could use insurance companies again in this situation. I could theorize that, like, you could be excised from the community for certain things like that, like your HOA would no longer support you. Your rights enforcement agency, if they found out that, like, you were beating your fucking dog or that you were killing your dogs and eating them or your cats, like, could also refuse to protect you or make it insanely expensive. There's a lot of
But what if you just choose not to give? What if you just choose not to give power to the rights enforcement agency? Like, what if you say you don't fucking control me? Who the fuck are you? You're just some fucking rights enforcement agency. I don't give a fuck about you.
Controlling you, they're just not going to protect you anymore. And then you're not going to be able to have your rights protected.
It's almost like we should have like a community of elders come together and come up with rules that we can all agree on in order to abide by. That way, going forward, we don't have to debate whether or not John fucked his dog, and we can just, like, not fuck dogs and have somebody from the fucking state go stick you in fucking bracelets in a cage if you start fucking dogs. It's almost like we should do that shit.
I hate that we always end up debating ANCAP fucking theory every time FLS is on, and I know he doesn't want to go through this every single time. I know he doesn't.
It's fucking annoying because I'm having to educate like people on what ANCAP theory is.
No, dude. See, that's the thing. You keep acting like you're educating us, like we don't understand. But like we already had this conversation last time, where we figured out that anarcho-capitalism is such a fucking 10-head goddamn theory that all the fucking plebs can't figure it out. So we shouldn't even talk about it because it's not pragmatic. Because the fucking plebs don't get it. Okay,
your freedom is not pragmatic. Sure.
FLS. I think,
yeah, you're right.
Okay, here's the best criticism I'm going to give you in the best good faith manner. The problem that comes with any anarchist theory, it's not that authoritarianism necessarily exists. It's about where we draw the lines, okay? Like, you and I would draw the lines at the state, right? But we also draw the lines at different economic institutions and different, like, relationships of power. So the issue is, like, how do we draw those lines? And, like, when we talk about just, like, if we just go full anarchist, like, you basically have to, like, just say, like, fuck society, because society unfairly imposes
I'm not going and prim for you.
Yeah, but, like, we have to understand, like, the problem comes is, like, in the process of, like, any, like, anarchist theory, we just
and if you wanted to have an entirely separate debate about it, right? Like, there are tons of answers.
This entire debate has been over.
Yeah, but you're relying.
I would love to hear you debate an ANPRIM. I have one in my chat right now, FLS.
I have to provide you a criticism right now, and that's the issue. I have to provide the criticism right now because I don't even know if we'll ever have the debate, so I have to tell you right now is.
Well, this whole debate has
sure.
been
If you feel like you need to attack anarcho-capitalist philosophy, and then we want to get into a debate about it, like I can, right? We can talk about how rights enforcement agencies work. We can talk about how voluntarist.
That's what I was talking about, Mike.
How the market and insurance is supposed to work. We can go into all those things, but it's not the fucking topic of the debate panel. If you want to have a 1v1 on me about it,
on it, so we have to talk about it.
I'm not relying on it. I'm saying I'm making an ethical argument that says that the state shouldn't be involved in these processes because I don't want this
argument based on your anarchist theory. We have to critique the theory.
Okay, wait. So to be totally fair to Fabian, you're also an anarchist. You're just like a different kind.
Yes,
of...
but I'm not trying to
Yeah, and
propose
frankly, I
my.
can't believe that you don't see half the arguments that apply to him apply to you.
Hold on. So
Well,
why
it's
don't
because
you
I'm not
guys-
trying to
so
make
why
an
don't- wait,
argument for my
why don't you
anarchist
guys
theory
just
here.
set up a date with Prime, and you guys can get together and talk about your fantasy worlds in
I'm not trying to talk
Anarcho
about
fantasies. That's what you can call the
theory. I don't
debate,
care
Prime.
about it.
Anarcho fantasies debate.
I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it at this. Chiron, Mexico, is doing a lot better since they adopted anarchistic principles.
My prescription is just stop being so fucking weird. All right, just be a normie. Not cool.
3,000
strikes
hectares.
again.
3,000 hectares of forest planted, boys.
SDM being all rad norm.
So we don't have to focus on specific that. Oh my god. But
Rad norms.
So do we care on this panel about the property values of neighbors? Right? Does it matter if this is in your backyard and these things happen? Right? It's one thing to say that, oh, I have the rights to do all these things with my property, right? My property, my rights. But it's different when someone else is exerting those rights over you. And what if you literally are trying to sell, and then you have what is a quote unquote eyesore on the other side? Is that fair? Should that be allowed to happen? Again, like, they're not hurting anyone other than maybe your possible bank account.
This is why you always.
I think you have a societal responsibility to your community. You know, like.
That's why you buy houses with an already established HOA. Yes. Everything.
No, you're saying it can only be at the private level?
So what?
But so that would be like kind of like a private intervention, not a municipal intervention. So that's what I was kind of trying to get from your perspective. Are you saying that it should only be at the private level, or should it also be at the public level? Because for me, I don't give a fuck if it's at the public level. I would prefer it to be at the public level.
Yeah, he's right. Counter's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, good question, because I don't think I explained this well enough in my opening. I think that it's okay if the state has this power. I would much rather this power be in the hands of an HOA, though. But if there was a local government who had some rule on you can't have rainbow painted houses, I don't think I'd object to it. But I'd much rather see that at a more local level on things that are of that nature.
Do people agree with that then?
Yeah, that's a totally like reasonable take. But like for me, if I'm living in fucking Ancom society and like fucking Doobie walks up and he's like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and ban all the fucking Japanese lolly porn fucking wrapped houses, then I'm gonna be like, all right, well I'm supporting the state right now instantaneously.
I haven't talked about Ancom theory at all. Why are we doing this?
I don't know, because they love to meme on the anarchist stuff.
Well, I think it's fine to meme on you because you should just bring it up the whole time. I haven't talked about my theory at all. I don't care. Well, I don't care about Anacom theory. Okay, it's just it just doesn't matter.
I think we do have a responsibility to our communities. Like, I don't know if you could say like, you could talk like, policy wise, you could talk morally. I think morally though, like, everyone should feel somewhat of an obligation to their community to try to want their community to look better, want their community to look beautiful. I mean, obviously this Rainbow House, right? They did it because they wanted their community to look beautiful. They were trying to add something to it, and the community resoundingly liked it, I mean, if you're getting booze and shit thrown at your house, well, yeah, maybe you should think twice about what the fuck you painted it. But if everybody loves it, then fucking who cares?
But Jason, no, this is where I wanted to focus on, right? This idea of other people of other people getting a vote. That's where we're like, that's where like the center of this argument is, like the core of it.
But I'm only speaking morally,
Other people, hold on. Other people getting a vote. So if that same house, now it was rainbow colored, but it was just like, it was clearly like a generic rainbow color, right? But what if they painted in such a way that it was specifically referencing like the LGBT flag, right? They specifically are pro-LGBT. They want to show that off to the world, show it off to their neighborhood. However, they live in the southern states, which is unfortunate for many reasons. But they live in the southern states, and their neighborhood doesn't appreciate that. They don't appreciate that type of message. This is a Christian neighborhood. By that I mean there's mostly Christians there, right? And they don't appreciate that. It's the same house, right? Whether in the north or in the south or in the west, right? It's the same house, but now the neighborhood thinks differently about it. So, like, should that matter?
I got an answer, right? So have we considered the tyranny of the majority? Okay, maybe what we should have is some sort of electoral college that represents the lesser neighborhood.
Get out of here! Get out of here!
Yeah, maybe we should
fuck out of here with additional tyranny of the majority.
How we conduct ourselves. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, basically, you would probably propose like multiple ways as a person can like find ways of recourse, right? Like either on a private level, or you could go through a public level, like through like either judicial court systems. Like, basically, we have to understand like certain ways of expression are protected. Like if you're like flag, or if you're like queer and everything, like that's protected class. How they extend to houses, I don't know. That'd be a question we can figure out. But like, you could probably like either go through private saying like, hey, like this is my home. Is this like decreasing your property values? If it's not, no, don't care then. But
yeah, let's re-legislate like animal abuse and just see like if everybody agrees on it, and we'll
leave people alone.
If John fucks his dog, we'll get like a private company to like arbitrate like the dog fucking and see like what he should pay restitutions to that species. You know?
What if his dog likes it?
That's property, Connor.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you see, these are complicated questions. We need to figure them out again.
I'm gonna disregard the memes because you won't engage in the theory, and that's fine. But
no, honestly,
can't we just leave people alone?
I'm serious about my meme. Like I seriously
libertarian
think that,
socialism's a fucking meme. Cool.
It is a meme.
Okay, sure. I have no idea how wordy after all these fucking debates is still not a status. It actually fucking pisses me off. But at the same time, it's like
because he's lying. He's not in.
No, I'm not.
The frustrating. Okay, hold on. The frustration that I fucking have with all goddamn anarchists is basically you reinstitute the state so fucking soon, or you prove why we have fucking states to begin with almost within like 20 seconds of fucking having a conversation. The reason why we've instituted fucking governments and republics and democracies and mixed governments and all that kind of shit is because of all the fucking problems that we just like highlighted, where some assholes would wrap their fucking homes in porn. So you know what we do is we have a bunch of fucking suburbs that are bland as shit. They're all painted predictable colors because there's one motherfucker that's gonna move in there and he's gonna paint his fucking house like Japanese fucking child porn. So we already know, like, this is why we have a state in the fucking first place. So I don't know why we have to re-legislate it.
That is an absurd view of history to think that the only reason that states were instituted, that nation states and monarchies came to be, right? And that we went from tribal anarchistic.
Yeah, it's because a bunch of Ancoms were fucking their dogs, and they were like, "Hey,
monarchists,
don't fuck your dog."
It was so we could have HOAs. It was all done so we could have HOAs. It was all done so we could have HOAs.
That's a terrible analysis of history. You think that it was just personal issues between neighbors.
Municipalities, house unions.
Actually, if you extrapolated out,
I laugh far more at my own jokes than the panel ever does.
I'm gonna go ahead with this.
I'm 100% fine with it.
Oh, okay. So when tribes started murdering the shit out of each other, they didn't institute governments in order to avoid their neighbors killing the shit out of them.
Wait, Connor.
Sorry, I just blew them the fuck out, and I fucking know.
Yeah, most of our world isn't organized in societies with some sort of central government control. That's not a true statement, right, Fabian?
What?
I'm saying chiefdoms arose for the need for power and security. Like, it has nothing to do with
because he kept telling Todd to not fuck his dog because we all thought it was weird. Like,
no, you already made the accurate point. That was because you didn't want to be invaded by another chiefdom, right? You didn't want to be
invaded by my neighbors.
Those are not your neighbors, right? That's another tribe of people.
They're close to me.
They're your mortal enemies, counterpoints.
Now you're just being pedantic as a means to remake your argument, which is just fucking wrong.
So,
Connor, just stop telling me you want to fuck dogs, okay? Just stop telling me that.
I tried to tell you before with the dildo talk that it's fucking 2 days till No Nut November's over, and now you're obsessed with fucking dogs.
He's getting a lot of
shit.
I'm worried about you, brother. Do you need to yerk your gherkin and come back, brother?
I elected.
You need some
clarity. He told me that he would get Todd to stop fucking his dog. I specifically elected Chief Grug based off of that fucking platform.
So I think.
And now Todd's still fucking his dog. God damn it!
Can I, Fabian? I know this is kind of a mean question. But can you just answer the question?
Oh my God! What?
So, if you're aware that your neighbor is purchasing dogs for the specific purpose of fucking them to death and then burning them in his backyard, what right do you have to go and tell your neighbor to stop this?
Don't worry, Devil Dog. We won't fuck you to death. That's not what this is about.
At a certain point, I'm just not engaging with ludicrous bullshit, right? Like you're taking extremes. It's animal abuse. Like
wait 1 second. I'll be a little less extreme. Okay. So let's.
I don't I'm done. Like I just
let's say someone lives across the street from the school and they want to have like a statue of like a big old dick in the front yard. Right. So what?
We've already discussed this multiple times.
No, but you keep saying, why can't we just leave people alone? Can you acknowledge there's some situations where even on someone's property, right, even if it's not physically hurting anybody, we can't.
It sounds like that's what they want to do, Devil Dog. I'm a little nervous.
Right, but you don't need the state.
For you,
my argument was never that people can do whatever they want. My argument wasn't people can fuck dogs or put giant fucking penis statues in their front yard next to the schools. My argument was that you don't need the state to create laws to have a fucking group of paid fucking employees through taxes to be a fucking nanny and come in and fucking like write bullshit letters to try and justify their own fucking jobs about somebody with a rainbow house that apparently everybody fucking likes. It's a waste of time and resources. What I'm saying is that there are better ways that we can handle these situations, and you can do so without fucking creating dumbass fucking laws and hiring useless government employees that aren't fucking helping people.
Like cops.
Dude, I call cops oath breakers all the time. I'm for
Cops
community policing and privatized policing.
I'm just messing because I know Connor's on the panel. I'm just
it's all right. Now listen, I stand by why I elected Chief Grug. Okay, so I'm good with it.
I applaud you for electing him for trying to get out Todd the dog fucker. Because fuck Todd the dog fucker.
Todd the dog fucker. Either that or like honestly but like it's been tough to get Todd to stop. So honestly, we might need to involve like the dog fucking arbitration fucking panel and see if we can get them to stop.
So if you're saying that the state doesn't need to be involved, like what if this person just doesn't care that the insurance company's not covering their house, or that what if you what if they have money, they don't give a fuck about the community being upset with them,
right? So when the entire community is upset and you have no protections and you're raping dogs to death, what do you think happens to a person that has absolutely
lynch mob,
no
which is why we have cops and laws and republics. Like, holy shit.
I can guarantee you they'll be forced out of the neighborhood in some capacity or another.
Well, they'll be murdered, and that's still a murder.
Yeah. He'll be forced out, all right?
Is good, right?
You want a society in which somebody who the neighborhood, for whatever reason, just doesn't fucking like, that it would be you think it's reasonable for that neighborhood to get together and to use violence to force separation of their house.
I never said that. You're taking your extreme situation and then trying to make it normative. You're full of shit, and I don't engage in your rhetorical lies. That's not at all what I'm saying.
It's almost like we should have a professional force with rules about their conduct on how they fucking handle, like, Todd the dog fucker. If you deal with that.
If you want
right, we specifically have that under anarcho-capitalism.
Use authoritarian.
Private police. Okay.
Yeah, the private police just recreating the state, but okay.
Wait,
but there's no monopoly on force and violence.
Whenever the police literally enforce.
I'm not afraid of discussing the consequences of the shit I'm saying. I'm not agreeing with I'm not agreeing with your reframing of things by taking an extreme and then making it normal. Right? It is not. It is extreme.
Force out of the community. What do you mean?
Well, there's a whole number of things. First, they lose their protection. There's different
what does losing their protection means? Just be very clear about it. What is
losing their protection means that all kinds of bad things could happen to them, and there'd be nobody to fucking help.
Can you name one? He wants you to just say
somebody might kill the guy that's raping dogs to death.
No, I'm saying when you say losing.
Are you okay with them killing that guy?
I think that person should be punished, but I might also kind of but at the same time,
I'm against capital punishment.
Going to respond to people coming to their property and hurting them in some way?
I'm sorry, what?
When you say lose their protection, do you think they're going to lose the protection of the community when it comes? So someone were to show up at their house and just rob them, the community would no longer feel obligated.
Right, you don't have a state, and when you don't have a state, every neighborhood is going to be different, right? That's why I said there's a multitude of options here. Worst case scenario is someone kills the dog fucker, right? The best case scenario is that they are living in an HOA type situation. Their property probably has certain agreements. The rights enforcement agency probably has permanent agreements. They agreed to a police force, right, via contract when they purchased that property. And that police force, via the contract that they agreed to, has the right to enact certain policies that are agreed to via contract. One of them, I assume, would likely be animal abuse. This person would then be taken and either excised from the community, or there's a multitude of different things that community may choose to do in regards of their policing practices. The difference, right, is that individuals voluntarily move into the neighborhoods that they want to move into and voluntarily sign the contracts that they want to, right? So then it's not no rules, it's just no rulers, right? The entire process is voluntary.
Yeah, so how is this, like, I mean, so far as I'm aware, people generally aren't forced to move into a community with ordinances and regulations as to how they can conduct themselves, right? So how is this any different than what's currently going on?
Because you have a process by which people vote things, and you don't get a choice on those new things.
You have a process by which you vote things. You vote for your city council. Like, this is the same.
Right, exactly. It's tyranny of the majority. You take a bunch of people, and 51% or 60%.
When you vote for things, even in your anarcho-capitalism.
Gordy, you're being absurd. You know that Proudhon, the fucking inventor of fucking anarchism,
he's dead. No one cares.
Right, exactly. But you know that anarchism is against democracy.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, because it's about consensus.
Fabian, how did things get into the contract in the first place?
Because people voluntarily signed the contract.
No, but who decides what's in the contract that they're signing?
What if you
the seller of the home?
Wait, so the individual homeowners get to decide the contract?
Yes, and if you don't like it, don't buy the fucking house.
Wait, okay, but what if I purchase a home with a contract that said that I didn't need to give a fuck about animal rights or about having my dick in my lawn?
Then you're fine.
Wait, but then maybe I'm like not understanding.
Can we like move into closing statements?
No, 1 second. You just said that the homeowner.
No, Doobie wants to take this all the way down, and he wants to frame the fucking conversation with his absurd fucking questions.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Fuck off. No, fuck off. Listen.
Why are you afraid of? Okay.
I'm not afraid of questions.
I'm homeowner.
Shut the fuck up. I don't.
Why does a homeowner decide it and not the?
Because they're the seller of the fucking house.
So then why would this person lose their protection within this community if they're complying with the contract that the homeowner gave them, if that contract didn't include animal rights?
Because I'm not moving into a neighborhood that doesn't have a police force where everyone fucking agrees not to fuck dogs to death. I don't live in that community.
So there is like a common contract for the neighborhood that people sign on to. Correct?
A social contract?
Okay, who decides?
No, it's not a social contract.
What is in the contract for the neighborhood? Who decides what's in that contract?
Probably the person that built the neighborhood, or the company that built the neighborhood, or a group of people that agreed that had ownership of those things communally. It could be an ESOP, right? There's a ton of scenarios here. You're trying to engage in a specific scenario. But the fact of the matter is that you could have a housing development company that is an ESOP model, right? It could be a community of people. Hell, they could all agree voluntarily to vote on things, and that's perfectly fine because they agreed voluntarily to do these things. But I never signed any fucking contract in America that agreed to live under the rules and the legislation that I currently live under. I didn't get that choice.
So is this company democratically run?
The company could be democratically run.
But what's incentive to democratically
this conversation makes me even more
thankful. It could be better, it could be worse.
This conversation makes me even more thankful that you think voting is immoral because I don't want you influencing my government in it. It's like, holy shit.
Okay, cool. I'm glad.
Okay, are we done?
We get it. We know that you're an authoritarian.
Like you trying to run my panel, thank you. All right, so yeah, I haven't so much of this has been involved with Scott, and I didn't really get an answer from everyone else, right? So other people.
Well, you didn't moderate.
Oh, all right, dude. Don't go complain at me, all right? You made ridiculous ass points, and people responded to you. Yeah, that's the way it goes. It's how we do it here, right?
No, it's cool. I'm saying just don't be mad that it became
hey, I'm not mad
about
anything. Who said I'm mad, right? I was enjoying it. It was hilarious. But anyway, back to it. So I just wanted to get an answer from the rest of you, right? In terms of like, should other people get this vote, right? In terms of what you do on your property, right? Because it can go either way, right? You can have the exact same expression in a different community and have different reactions. And so should that be the basis as to why, how you get to operate in your own property? Go ahead. Are you gonna not the electoral college?
It's a series,
Not gonna do
it's a
that?
series, it's-
Okay,
it's a series.
thanks.
I quite like the concept of the Overton window. All right, like I said, I'm an extreme anti-extremist. Okay, I'm extremely against
Rad
extremism.
norm.
I'm a hardcore normcore. Okay, I'm a normcorist, maybe you could even say. So I quite like the concept of the Overton window, right? I like the pushing of the Overton window. You know, instead of just like going straight out there, you got the fucking. Like,
So is it just me, or did Biggs not say shit this whole fucking time?
Right? You put something maybe a bit out there, but like people aren't.
He didn't say a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Everybody else talked. Biggs didn't say a fucking
I don't
thing.
live near fucking weird neighbors. Okay, I don't live near fucking weird neighbors.
Neither do they want to live near you. I'm
Exactly,
kidding.
that's what I mean. Nobody wants weird neighbors, right? I might be the weirdo in some communities, and they might be the weirdo in other communities, right? So we have this slow little push towards what the society changes. Quite frankly, I'm okay with this because society is moving more left as like the generations pass. So I think that the good idea.
By the way, here's a disclaimer. Bestiality is fucking nasty as fuck. Nobody should ever do it. It's fucking horrible. It's wretched. It's fucking disgusting. So
Everyone else, I wanna
don't
hear
fuck up
responses.
animals. It's fucked up. It's
Biggs,
gross.
So same
Fuck that
house,
shit.
different neighborhoods. Should it matter whether the people around you necessarily are offended?
I don't really think so. Like I said, unless there's actual rules in place, or unless you're breaking another law, whether it be like an obscenity law or something like that that's already on the books. But as far as like other people having a vote, I don't think that they should just be able to come and tell you, like, hey, you have to change this, and we don't like because we don't like it.
But Biggs. But that's basically what government is, right? They have a vote, they use the vote, they put an ordinance in place, right? And now they're saying,
So you're saying
there's that
after the
rule.
fact.
Yeah, there's that rule. Well, no, I mean before or after the fact, it doesn't matter. I mean the point is that like you want to do something with your property, right? Whether it's before or after the fact.
Then I don't
so,
think they should have
like,
a say then at all. Then
Not at all.
But-
So the
no.
government, right?
no, you
I
said the
shouldn't-
people. I'm saying
But the people aren't the government.
they're not. That you know that's not the case.
The
So,
people
like, the
aren't
government- so-
and a democratic,
right.
it's a democratically elected.
So,
state,
but
right?
even in your situation, if there was a place that didn't have any laws, the government didn't have laws, right? But the people in that specific community, like a few neighbors right close to that person, they would not have any say to the state, like just a few handful of people that are neighbors, unless there was some type of a law that would give them the right to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that just because somebody doesn't like it, they should be able to go and just say, hey, you have to do this.
Yeah, no, we got that. We got that. No, we
Okay,
got
sure.
that. All right, yeah. But the laws, right, are created by the community. Again, I'm assuming there's a democratically elected people have agreed to these things, right? They're created by the community, and an HOA to a certain extent, is created as some way. Like there's got to be some sort of consensus in HOA, right? There is no power that comes out down on high, right, and just says like this is it. Right, and there's no other way. Right, like you could change an HOA bylaws. Right, so to a certain extent, the community is getting a vote. So should that community ever get that vote?
I don't think so.
No. Okay, so then the anime Hegel Faces wrapped house. That's okay.
I mean, like I said, if there's obscenity laws already, which I think that would fall under, but I'm saying,
He's the
right, but that's what I'm saying. But you can't, like, if there was no obscenity laws saying that you couldn't have that on your house, then yeah, you can have that on your house. Like that's
But
just the way it is,
The
right?
laws
Like, you can't-
themselves are the votes.
Right.
You're saying you can't have a vote, but then also the laws that
They're
govern.
not the same. You're conflating two different things that are completely different. Okay, the people like we don't vote for laws. We do not.
We
Right.
vote for
We
representatives who have laws.
Yes,
Agreed.
exactly,
Yes, we don't
exactly.
have
So, right.
we don't
So,
have a pure
if-
democracy.
right.
True, but whatever.
So if you want to institute by voting, right? By voting, putting people in to make those laws for wherever you live, then do that. But that's the only way you can do it. Like just saying you don't like something and make somebody change something just seems ridiculous to me.
I guess my problem with what you're saying here, and I think other people are going to say some other things, is that you were saying that there's a one-step removal. This removal being that the representatives created, not necessarily the voters, right? They didn't directly come to your house, surrounded, pure democracy vote. Hey, we don't like this, take it down. You think that one level of separation means anything, right? But in the end, it's individuals, it's the group, it's the community that have decided, have agreed to these laws, right? And then now you are being opposed upon on those laws on your own property. Right, so you're taking that removal, right? That one step of removal, and saying, well, that's good enough. These are laws in place, right?
Right, but the one
And that's
step
good enough.
the one step you're removing, to me, it sounds like you're removing the due process, right? That's what it sounds like to me. Maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but like to me, if somebody has something on that other people want to change, there has to be a process to do that. Through whatever is decided by, whether it's voting through the government, like you say, or instituting HOA guide, whatever it is, there has to be a due process. And I think if they go through that due process, then that's a reasonable thing. But if you just want to say that there's just like people saying that this is bad, we don't want it anymore, and just forcing, I don't know how you're going to.
I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the government thing.
Okay, the government thing. Then that's fine. But there has to be a due process. I believe that's my best like middle ground to the whole situation.
Gotcha. All right, Morty, I think we understand how you feel about this. Doobie, what do you think?
So you're asking about the case where someone puts like a rainbow flag on their house because they're supportive of like LGBT rights or whatever. The community's offended and they want it taken down, right? I would say that if it's I don't really care about people being offended about a thing, right? What I care about is what's on the books. What does the law say? What does the local ordinance say? Right. If it's in violation of the ordinance, hey, you gotta be in compliance. If it's not, well, fuck. If you're bitching about it, if you don't like it, change the ordinance somehow. Get on the city board, vote for a new representative, whatever the fuck it is. Show up at your local council meetings that nobody ever fucking goes to, and say you want this changed. Right. I think that's what I care about. I don't really care about who's being offended or whatever.
So you are also with Biggs on this due process thing, right? As long as it goes through that process of democracy, no matter what it is that it's maybe blocking or allowing, you've gone through that process, and then that means it's legitimate.
Yeah, I don't think it's reasonable to say that we'd have like so. I guess one alternative would be like the neighborhood votes to say they don't like the color of your house, whatever. They don't like that you have a Confederate flag in your house, whatever the fuck it is, and you're forced to change it because of that. That seems strange. I think it should all be done through representatives, through some kind of government organization, and this should be on paper somewhere to say this is specifically what you're allowed to do with your house, and this is what you're not allowed to do with your house. And if your neighbor does something that's not in there and you don't like it, then get it changed. If that's what Big said, then I'm with Big.
Okay. All right, Jason.
So my take on it is, yeah, I mean,
you're muted, buddy.
Jason.
Pro streamer. So my take on it is straight up like, yeah, regulations, loose regulations that cover the most extreme of situations. I think that there should always be carve-outs for exceptions based off of community need or community want, and you can always appeal to your HOA or your community leaders or your city council for change. But yeah, I mean, some loose regulations just to cover like really fucking crazy outlandish shit, sure. Other than that, though, I think that largely you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want with your property. Like it's your property. You're the one that has to maintain it. And you're the one that purchased it. You get the opportunity to dictate that. But sure, yeah, within certain bounds. I mean, obviously, like I said, I'm not crazy about seeing a bunch of Nazi flags on houses or Confederate flags, but maybe that's the consensus of the neighborhood, so I can't say anything. And if that's what the consensus is, fucking, I need to go get involved and do something to change that.
When you say that, other than loose like regulations, right? Like those loose regulations become strict regulations, and there could be more regulations. And
but that's why you need to be actively involved at all times to check that. Like that's what it's about. That's what civic involvement is about, and that's why all of us need to be involved on a local level in what's happening in our government, what's happening in our HOAs, immediately, so that we can circumvent those kind of issues where it becomes stricter and stricter, or there are things that become outside the bounds of what's normal. That's where the human aspect comes in, and we have to check our own government, and that's why we're here. That's why we're in a democracy, supposedly, so that we can have that check and balance over our government.
Counter.
Yep, I'm 100% good with like a referendum being the way that things are changed over time. So if somebody does, like, there is no ordinance on the books, and then somebody puts up something ridiculous, and then they vote on a democratic referendum to change the city ordinance, and then they force you to change based off of that said new ordinance, I'm perfectly fine with it. That's absolutely okay and a part of good governance. So.
Okay. Let's go to Chieshu.
I think I answered this one first.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry. Go ahead. No, you didn't. Like,
Wait,
okay. Well, you
what
will
was
say
your
whatever.
what was your question? I had to run downstairs real quick to get something.
Oh,
out there.
Okay, sure.
What was-
Yeah. Just wondering, like, is it the majority that should have a say, right? Now that say can come in many different forms.
Oh,
It can
got
come
you.
to-
Yeah, got you. Yeah. I'm always gonna be in favor of the HOA because it's the reality is it's a big asset that you can tie a lot of your net worth or blah 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 into. Not having any type of control in something that's that influential to like the success of you or potentially your children and blah blah blah. I'm not for that. So I think that having HOAs or potentially municipality control over certain situations is a good thing for sure. Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, all right. Now I see where you all stand. All right, fair enough. No. Okay. So thank you all for that. Much appreciated. To my audience, we will continue on with our open walk-on panel in just a moment. The content does not end. I'm just gonna give these individuals an outro, but we still have more content for you. If you have enjoyed this content so far, I didn't think why you have your hand up. You have your hand up for something. You're just saying hi or bye.
I was hoping to ask Fabian a question before we close up, if that's
Okay.
Okay. I don't get a closing and I have to answer questions. All right, let's go.
Look, Fabian, I love you. Okay, I know. I feel, like I said earlier, I feel like we've been dogpiling on you a bit, but I feel like you're an intelligent person, the only intelligent cat I've ever met. So I feel like you can handle it. And I'm genuinely curious, because what you laid out earlier was that like the people who built the neighborhood or founded the neighborhood or the community would be the ones that would decide what's in the contract that people need to sign on to become part of this community. But I had a thought, like, why is this any different than like the Constitution of the United States that was signed on to by the people who formed the United States? Then the states have their own constitutions that were all signed on to by the people who formed the states, and on and on and on and on. Right? Like, how's that any different?
I would say if you want to know why that's different, just read No Treason, Chapter 6, Lysander Spooner's Constitution of No Authority. I never signed the Constitution, and the majority of individuals that were here during the founding never signed the Constitution. I mean, PrimeCayes really kind of showed in his question earlier exactly the problem of the tyranny of the majority. What if you want to build a rainbow house in a Southern Christian Baptist neighborhood, right? And the fact is that people can just vote you immoral. They can vote you wrong. They can vote you as the bad actor, and it doesn't necessarily need to be something bad. And this is why I think that private contracts where individuals actually sign and agree to things are superior to instances where a majority of people vote how you have to behave. I believe in freedom, and if you believe in freedom and individual sovereignty, then you can't be for this idea.
You agree with HOAs. You agree with HOAs, which is a contract that people sign.
I do agree with HOAs, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think there's
If you choose to live in an HOA and you agree to those terms of that contract, then absolutely. Like, because you chose to do that. You chose knowing the risks in those situations.
Yeah, so
what I don't agree with is this random government law coming down from on high that you may or may not have voted for, telling you how you have to behave and act. It's immoral. It's wrong.
Yeah. Infinity on High is a great album.
Quick follow-up question. So, you didn't sign on to this, right? To the contract.
And neither did my forefathers.
Yeah, but like, how's this any different from like, within your system, people sign on to a contract to move into a community, right? That they had no say in deciding what was in that contract. They sign into this contract, and then their children are born within this community and expected to follow the same rules. So what you're talking about is undue influence contract, right? So you have undue influence, you have duress, you have unconscionable, and you have illegality, right? You're getting into contract law,
where you're in a situation where you had no choice but to sign the contract because for whatever reason there was a monopoly that existed, right? And you had to agree to terms that were unacceptable.
Everything in the ANCAP society is duress. You don't even have protection unless you sign the contract. Everything is duress.
That's simply not true. Like I could engage with that some other time. I really don't want this to become another fucking thing where we go through all that. But what I'm saying is you're getting into contract law, and so if you're in a situation, right, and this is true even in these are common law standards, right? Like this isn't anything new like that I'm proposing, right? So if you're in a situation where your only choice is but to sign a contract, then that's not a valid contract.
Can I ask you one quick question before you close? Are the people
Sure.
who don't sign your ANCAP contract protected?
What do you mean there's no ANCAP contract?
Yes, sir. I thought you said there is, right?
No.
I thought you said your communities have a contract and that's the laws that you all obey by and you all sign it, right?
You don't have a monopoly on power and violence, right? Like your home might have a contract. You might have an HOA in your home. Your business is going to have different contracts. If you rent somewhere else, it's going to be a separate set of contracts in the same community. Your insurance company, you have multiple different choices.
I could move into the middle of your tribe and have sign no legal documents that tie.
You have freedom of association. You have freedom of movement. And you have certain inalienable rights.
Yeah, that's under the Constitution. That's great. It's wonderful.
Like, no, the Constitution
I love the Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know what ANCAP says, like just play the Rust for a bit, and you'll understand.
I've watched enough Mad Max.
Because the consequences aren't real in Rust, right? So obviously people are a little bit more tyrannical.
Wouldn't want that tyranny.
It's right. It's. I'm just saying it's reductio ad absurdum because the two are just like it's.
It was a joke. I don't think Rust actually. Yeah, it was a joke.
Yeah, no. But read Anatomy of the State by Rothbard. That's a good place to start.
It sounds like that might indoctrinate you. Everybody, be careful if you're going to read that.
Yes, I will indoctrinate you into individual sovereignty, freedom, and liberty.
Read The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged.
No,
I'm about to throw up.
Objectivism is not anarcho-capitalism,
Stop.
right?
I'm gonna throw up.
She fucking hated ANCAPs, and she fucking hated libertarians. She was a bitch to von Mises, she was a bitch to Rothbard, and she was a bitch to Hoppe.
Okay.
What he said.
Great. Sure.
I've actually found my way to agree with quite a bit with FLS tonight for the first time ever. Yeah, so you know.
See.
Way to make some points so we can have some convergences.
That's the piss pill. You've been pissed.
I didn't get a closing. I got a Q&A, but just in closing, I'll just say this super quick. Just leave me the fuck alone. I just want to be able to be left the fuck alone, and I don't want anybody to force me to do anything that I don't want to do. I just want to be able to individually sign and choose what I want to do, and I want that freedom.
You know, we what we do now is we let people just shout themselves out, and you can say whatever you want. So it's we do all the time, every week. All right. So anyway, back to it. To my audience, again, we're going to go on to our open walk-on panel just after this. So stick around. If you've been enjoying this content so far, hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. It is 6 nights a week, lots of nights a week, right? So we want you to be here to enjoy all the content for you! Exclamation point social and chat. For our social media, sign up for our Discord, right? Jump into our Discord. That's where we have all our conversations. Everything happens in our Discord. Our open panel is going to happen in Discord. Be a part of that, and our online, offline conversations. Everything. Right? We have a lot there for you. We want you to be a part of it. Jump on in, right? In terms of Twitter, that's where you'll find our channel updates, and YouTube is where you'll find the VODs for days, right? If you've missed anything, right? Missed any of this, honestly, just like sublime discourse, then head over to our YouTube. That's where you'll find the VODs. Like, comment, and subscribe there. Also, support the channel through memberships. If you can, hit that join button. All right. I'll give an outro to all of our fine guests, starting with GSU Gambit. Gambit, thank you so much. Seriously, always appreciate you. And no matter where you land on these issues, I'm always happy that you're around. Gambit, tell a little about yourself.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to be here. I think you did an excellent job in moderating. I think that, sometimes we make points that are a bit wild, and when we're pushed to defend those, I don't think it's your fault that we might have to defend it. I've come here and I've had to yell at 7 people for several hours. So, Fabian, you should be up to the task as well. I don't think that's reflective of Prime's inability to moderate. It's just what he allows. If we have very contentious points, then that's what we do. But anyway, I enjoyed it. Happy to be back on the Reverie. Fabian, I think we met one time before this, but cool to meet you again. We disagree greatly on some stuff, but cool to meet you. Everybody else is almost like I know everybody else, except Biggs. Biggs, we've never been the same. So that's cool. But yeah, so I enjoyed it. I have a political channel, GSU Gambit, where I do shows like this. I also have a development channel where I'm teaching people to do software engineering. It also has a Discord with it, GSU Gambit Codes. If you want to follow that for software engineering content, you can. And yeah, shout out to Prime. Follow Prime, sub to Prime. Appreciate the invite.
Thank you for the kindness. And links are in chat. Let's go to Scott. So Scott, if you want a second, you get a second ending.
No, it's fine. I was just poking at you because you let everybody fucking come at like this really off-topic thing, and then you said, "Don't run my panel. Let me run my panel."
No, it wasn't to you. That wasn't to you.
And so that's the only reason I made that comment. I was like, "Hey, motherfucker, like you didn't moderate, all right? Like I love you, and I love Reverie, and you guys should check out Reverie on Mondays because you always get to hear Connor scream, and you occasionally get to hear me come in, and it's good time, and you get to see that creepy ass frog face up close. Anyways, we are. I am Fabian Liberty. I'm Scott from Fabian Liberty. We're a duo stream, anarcho-capitalist. Obviously, I know you guys hate. Me saying it over and over again, but fuck it, I will normalize this ideology, and you cannot stop me because I'm based as fuck. Come check us out, and all the things that PrimeCayes says about his channel, when pimping it out, the same applies for me.
All right, thank you so much for the kindness. Let's go to Counterpoints VIP who stopped by here today, and who of course helps make this conversation always more interesting. Thank you, Counterpoints, for that. Right, the star of the show really is the vein on your forehead. So Counterpoints.
It's fucking true. Yeah. My name is Connor. I run a YouTube channel named Counterpoints, and I'm a Marine veteran, law enforcement veteran. So basically, I had to hold my tongue for 4 years as Marine, and then I had to hold my tongue for another 4 years as a law enforcement officer. So now I let it out by yelling at people because it's fucking super goddamn fun, and I love doing it. So Prime, thank you for giving me a venue to do that. And what I would say in closing is my frustration with anarchism, both anarcho-communism and anarcho-capitalism, which is why I beat up on Wordy as well, is that often 30 seconds after we figure out how to eliminate the state, we recreate it in other ways. And there was also a point about like politics that I thought was super interesting, which was, it's interesting with libertarian philosophy where if everybody's a libertarian, it works. But if other people aren't libertarians, then it doesn't work at all. And so as a result, you have to have a republic, a state, something that defends rights, that boxes out all the nefarious and authoritarian characters and is relatively, I don't want to say benign, but compared to the alternatives, it's benign. So I'll leave it there. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for having me, and had a blast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Seriously, always appreciate my man Connor coming through. Next, Jason Society. Always happy to have him here, too. We haven't had him in a while, and it was a good time. Jason.
Yeah, for sure. Always love coming on any Prime panel, even the walk-ons, which I do sometimes, a little while slightly inebriated at times. I very much enjoy it. It's always great to talk to all these folks. GSU Gambit, me and him have gone at it a couple times, but then we got to team up on Vosh, so he's like my boy now. I got some love for him for that
Absolutely.
shit. FLS, I agreed with you on some shit tonight. That's huge. Like, and Counterpoints, man, we always find some like spots where I have agreement. So, it's interesting being a leftist that you can honestly find places where you can come together with people, and I think that's what we need to look for. Anyways, if you like what you heard from me and you like my channel, you can check me out on twitch.com/Jason_Society or on Twitter at Jason Society, all one word. And again, thank you so much, Prime. You've been a huge both influence and and contributor just by having me on your platform to the build of my channel, and I greatly appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Doobie, our Dark Lord and Savior is here. Doobie, thank you for coming through and instigating us always. But Doobie, please tell the world about yourself. He's a nice guy, though. Remember that.
I'm actually an extremely nice person. So I just want to say a couple things. I was actually really pleased with how the panel went tonight. I do think, you know, it was kind of shitty that we dogpiled on Fabian, but I think Fabian, I've said this like 4 times. I think you're an extremely intelligent person, and I'm glad you're the one on here representing Incapistan. So I think you did a pretty good job. But aside from that, chat, you can think of these panels as like a line, right? And on one side you have extremely wrong all the time. You got Wordy and Fabian there, and you got me correct on the other end of the line. And tonight I saw Connor move a little bit closer to me, right? And not being a beta on the national stage or in the world stage. That's fucking great. I'm very happy that Connor is even more nationalistic than he was the first time I met him. And Connor, I'm looking forward to you being more correct the next time we speak. Yeah, for those of you in chat who don't know who I am, I'm Doobie. I help run the politics server on Discord, the best and biggest politics server on the platform. If you want to find me there and yell at me and be incorrect when you're arguing with me there, the link is in chat. It should be in chat. If it's not in chat, it's discord.gg/politics or politics.gg. We are having Jordan Peterson on at some point in the next month.
Wait.
That'll be fun.
Wait.
GSU, you're not invited. You can't talk to him.
Wait.
And
wait.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Jesus.
I'm so there for that.
Stuff. You guys don't
Connor might just
understand that.
hop in there.
I have like the biggest erection right now. It's fucking.
Yeah.
Alright.
Oh no, you can't just say stuff like this, dog. Don't
Stage
play
of
with
glory
me.
right there. But go ahead.
Don't play with me, man.
So, dude, it's big stuff. He gets big guests. It's true. Like he's got.
Yes.
But thank you
That's hot.
so much for that, and for the visuals. Also very, very important. All right, let's go to Wordy. Wordy, thank you also for coming through. It has been a while, but we're so happy, especially since you love to participate. You know, we love that. We love to see that here. So, Wordy, please tell us about yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Wordy. Talk Wordy to me on Discord. I'm a libertarian socialist, anarchist. I take 2 lenses of analysis, either how do we get rid of the state, or if we have to have the state, how do we better direct power and how to make it work better while also working towards more democratic ends. Like, at the end of the day, like, descriptively anarchist, philosophically an anarchist, but like how we go about implementing that's the question. And like there are a lot of ways you can do that. It's not just get rid of the state always, because like maybe we end up having the state forever, I don't know. But I discuss politics, discuss philosophy, I learn about a lot of different things, economics, foreign policy. Like I'm constantly looking up stuff, and if I like having debates. I just want to apologize to FLS, just saying, hey, I'm sorry I got heated in this. Like I'm just really passionate and shit. I hope we can like converse later. I will say one thing, good thing. I love your hair. Good job.
All right, let's go to Biggs. Biggs also, again, like we haven't had him in a while, but it was great to have him here. And I got to yell at you for a little bit, and that always makes me happy. Right? That's where my affections come from. So Biggs, go ahead.
I am so glad that I can help you out with that, Prime. I'm so glad.
Wow.
Thank you so much for having me. I love coming on here. I love just talking to all these amazing panelists. Everybody check all these people out. They're all amazing. Yeah, you can find me at Biggs 8500 on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I do mostly panels and some video game streaming here and there, but I think when we have these kind of discussions, I'll try to bring people together. I think that's probably like the best thing we can do, you know, because I think we all kind of want the same things, and I think we agreed on a lot of stuff tonight. It got a little spicy, which I figured it would. That's why I said that at the beginning. But yeah, bringing people together, getting ideas out there, and try to find solution to these problems is really what it's all about. So everybody give Prime a follow and a sub. He does his open panels, which is coming up next, so stick around for that, and hop in if you're so inclined, because it's always a blast. That's how I started out, basically, was coming on the open panels and just getting out there and talking to people, and it's just, that's where you got to be. So thank you, Prime, so much again for providing that service to everybody out there, and thank you for having me on.
I thought the stream was ending. After
Oh no, the stream is not ending. God damn it! Fuck you. Thank you so much. All right. Whenever I need a little help in betterment, I think of this panel. I think of these faces, and it gets me right there. All right, let's go. Let's go to Jason Spoon. Oh, and we got to just say something. Jason Society, thank you for the kindness. Thank you for resubbing at tier 3 for 4 months. Thank you, and thank you for gifting 521 gift subs to the channel. Help us out so much. You can also help us out and start off hype train. That's how we pay for all this, right? So be so kind and support, just like our friend Jason Society, by subbing, gifting subs, or resubbing. Thank you. And we'll get to that in a second. Let's go to Sneaky Debate Man.
So today, let's think about what we've learned. And in Gambit Society, everybody's trying to figure out who's asking one. I think he's saying that, but I'm not sure who's saying one. Whereas in Fabian Liberty Scott's Society, they're trying to raise enough money to stop Todd fucking his dog. Whereas in Contrapoint Society, he's rolling out the Space Marines to make sure everybody gets vaccinated. Whereas in Jason's Society, they're all taking the piss pill because they listen to Fabian. And in Doobie Society, they're just straight up drone striking anyone who doesn't agree with them. Whereas in Wordies, they've gone through 3 of the 10 chambers required to get anything fucking done. And that's only for the motion to vote. And in big societies, nobody said anything for 3 hours. We'd have a fucking clue what's going on over there. And in my society... In my society, the finest minds are trying to figure out who is in Paris, but nobody will tell me. Please, somebody tell me.
Dad, I can tell you.
I can make one meme. You call yourself Normcore? Do you mean Norm Chomsky?
Nice.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to sneak in your leftist anarchist shit here, sir.
Oh boy, wonderful. Love to see this. All right, thank you all. Seriously, every single one of you for coming through. Right, I'm very happy to have you all. I hope to see some of you back soon, like sooner than a few months. So thank you. Again, we're going to continue on to our open walk-on panel right after this. Anyone here can join us, but if not, that's okay. Thanks for your time, your energy, your knowledge, and your passion, and your aggravation, honestly. With my community, I know they appreciate it as much as I do. Thank you. Bye.
Toodles.
Yo, Doobie. Listen,
I might come back for the walk-on in a little bit. I got to do some stuff first real quick, but...
Thanks, everybody. You guys were all fucking awesome.
Yep.
You were too, man. I wish I could have heard more from you. Usually you have more to say, but yeah, I dig it.
I was the first topic I really wasn't too I just didn't really have too big of an opinion, so
Fair enough.
I do believe a lot with
If you don't have an opinion, you just yell at people. Just
No, I know, but I'm too nice.
yell at people just
I'm just too nice.
Alright, you guys have a good night.
And FLS, like, dude, at some point, FLS, I do want to talk to you because I do want to just flesh out what your beliefs are. I want to understand it because I don't. There are a lot of elements I don't fully understand, and I think that a really reasonable and not memey conversation is worthy.
One of the things about anarcho-capitalism, right, is that some people find it. I think there's 90% of people, right? 10% of people are libertarians, and they just go more extreme libertarian and become an ANCAP. But for the other 90%, they basically break down into 2 categories, right? Teenagers that want the most